Polling candidates, former President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he talks a lot about electability. He was in New Hampshire today for an event. He spoke about that with voters, and he also was trying to regain some of the momentum that he had. There was a poll early in the year that showed him leading Trump. That lead has evaporated. Former President Trump, he is also in New Hampshire to speak to supporters in Concord. It's a Republican women's lunch. Obviously a sign that Trump is not going to let New Hampshire go out of his grip because, again, he has been focusing heavily on the state, rolling out a whole new set of endorsements today and some grassroots activists that may be able to help him here in the Granite State.
This all as Trump faces various charges. It's unclear how the criminal charges against Trump will hurt his campaign. The former president also taking aim at the current commander-in-chief and his son, Hunter Biden. President Biden has denied having any knowledge of his son's overseas business deals. And the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students appearing in court Tuesday. But his attorney says they need more evidence to prepare. Now the prosecutors say they will pursue the death penalty. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more on this.
Brian Koberger's attorney told the judge they need certain evidence turned over to them, like training records for specific officers who are involved in aspects of the investigation. And Taylor said they also need documents relating to the FBI's investigation, specifically how cell phone records made their way into the probable cause affidavit, as well as the FBI's advice to look for a white Hyundai Elantra as the suspect's car.
This vehicle identification was heavily relied on by the state to arrest Mr. Koberger, as well as to obtain a lot of other search warrants.
Taylor said this kind of information is important in preparing a defense for Koberger, as prosecutors have now said they will seek the death penalty. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The judge adjourning court on Tuesday afternoon, saying that he would issue a written ruling soon. I'm Ted Lindner, and this is the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com. Larry Connors, USA.
And I'm against it. I'll fight it every step of the way, and so should you. And the parents who send their kids to this private school, we need to have a come to Jesus meeting.
Larry Connors, weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, what makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
The strength of America, our values, our way of life hasn't just been won on the battlefield. It's won every day in our communities when we come together, extending hands of compassion, service, and hope to those who need it most. For over 100 years, the American Legion has been strengthening communities across our nation by providing life-saving help and support to our veterans and neighbors during times like we're facing today.
It's what the Legion's all about.
From blood drives to distributing food, from responding to emergencies and protecting the most vulnerable among us. Our mission is making America's communities stronger.
We are one family, and therefore we care.
We are the American Legion, veterans strengthening America. To learn how you can help, visit legion.org.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you thought booking your timeshare was difficult before, you know it's almost impossible now. For more than a decade, Lone Star Transfer has helped thousands of owners legally and permanently get out of their never-ending timeshare fees. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. For free, no obligation consultation, please call 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Wednesday, Gallup is out with a study of church-going habits among Americans. The headline, not too many of us are going at all. In 2012, about 40% of us attended weekly worship. Today, that number is below 30%. My religion, Catholicism, has fallen 7% in just 3 years. Protestant sects down 4%. The United States has become a secular nation like France and Britain. Even though religion-based schools here offer a far better education than public schools, generally speaking, many Catholic schools are closing. In 1963, I graduated 8th grade at St. Bridget's School on Long Island. The 3 classes receiving diplomas had 175 students. Last week, my goddaughter graduated from the same school, St. Bridget's. 1 class, 36 students. The decline of religious commitment is, of course, being felt in crime, narcotics consumption, extreme behavior, and even disrespecting religion, as the Los Angeles Dodgers recently did by honoring an anti-Christian hate group. Unfortunately, American religious leaders have no answer. Most are frightened. Few engage their congregations in a meaningful way. My church last Sunday, 20% full at the 10:30 Mass. Add it all up, traditional religions are disappearing. God help us. Back after this.
Do you feel like you're watching your nation crumble before your eyes? It's Jesse Kelly, television and radio host and now world-famous author. In my new book, The Anti-Communist Manifesto, I'll show you how communism has infected America, from its infiltration of our education system to its unholy alliance with American corporations. Don't be fooled by agitators hiding behind woke causes. The Anti-Communist Manifesto, a practical guide for patriots. Available now at all bookstores and online.
That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Matt Chambers with your first alert forecast. Canadian wildfire smoke in our area this morning, some of the thickest we've seen. Air quality unhealthy, and there is an impact on visibility. In addition to that, a few scattered showers, even a rumble of thunder possible this morning. Otherwise, more humid, an afternoon high of 91. Down to only 78 tonight, and heat advisories kick in tomorrow and Friday. Dangerous highs near 101 both days. Heat index 105 to 110 as the low storm chance continues. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
You have probably heard of the new movie that's coming out in theaters on July 4th, so this coming Tuesday. It's called Sound of Freedom. It stars Jim Caviezel, who, of course, is best known maybe for playing Jesus in Passion of the Christ. And here's the thing. Sound of Freedom is a gritty, action-packed movie, but it's based on true events, and those true events are an undercover operation to rescue children from the sex trade, from human trafficking. So it's going to be hard to watch, but it is an important story to tell. And a little bit later on today, we're going to talk to one of the men who made that movie happen. Good morning, I'm Mike Ferguson. Thanks for spending part of your Wednesday with us here on News Talk STL. You know, another thing that can be tough to talk about sometimes is the fact that when you run counter to the leftist narrative, especially since they hold so much of America's political power right now, well, that can threaten your ability to have your voice heard. Here's what we mean by that. The Southern Poverty Law Center, we know it's debunked. We know they're biased. We know they're not credible. But you know what? They've got friends in pretty high places. So what does that mean to our ability to be heard? Jeff Charles from RedState.com joined us on Tuesday's program, and here's his assessment.
When you disagree with those who are in charge, then life can be tough for you. And the Southern Poverty Law Center, which has been discredited for years, somehow seems to keep ending up on the right side of the current administration. You go to redstate.com, you can find an article by Jeff Charles. Southern Poverty Law Center's cozy relationship with the federal government threatens to chill free speech. And you can find that at redstate.com right now. Jeff joins us right now as well. Jeff, good to chat with you again. Let me kind of talk about that dichotomy. Let's start there. I don't think very many people who really understand what the Southern Poverty Law Center does takes them seriously at all. Now, the federal government knows what they do, knows that they aren't a serious, objective organization, but they are taking them seriously and rolling them into what the federal government does. How is this working? And then we'll get to why it matters so much.
Yeah, hey, Mike, glad to be back. The thing about the Southern Poverty Law Center is people take them seriously because they actually used to be a good organization that fought on behalf of marginalized people. But now they're basically just a left-wing propaganda mill. And that alone is bad enough. I mean, they have this hate group list that they put people and organizations on, some of which are actual hate groups, but a lot of them are just people who disagree with their politics. And it's already bad enough that people take them seriously. They recently put Moms for Liberty on the same list that they would put the KKK and neo-Nazis. And the issue is that this has already caused an act of violence back in 2015, I believe, where a guy went and tried to shoot a Christian, a pro-life organization and tried to shoot somebody there. Luckily, he didn't hurt anybody. But now we have the FBI relying on the SPLC to supposedly gain more information and to investigate supposed extremist groups. Just recently, you heard about the issue with that memo that an FBI agent wrote about infiltrating members of the Catholic Church. That was based on a report from the Southern Poverty Law Center that was bunk, and they've been using them in other investigations. So House Republicans want to investigate to find out exactly how often they're using the SPLC as a source.
And why is it that the federal government, I mean, the FBI, the DOJ, we all know what the problems are right now with them being biased and being weaponized, but why is it that they can't see the obvious inauthenticity of the SPLC the way the rest of us can? Obviously, it's easier for us because we may very well get targeted by them at some point, but you would think that a Department of Justice, politics or not, would say, yeah, that's not a credible source.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, but people believe what they want to believe, right? I mean, the FBI is supposed to be nonpartisan, but we've seen over the years, I mean, over its history, they've targeted left and right wing groups. Now they're focused on the right. So it's almost like the SPLC says what they want to hear to give them the excuse to infiltrate and to essentially harass people who disagree with their politics. It's really scary because this can be used against anybody. The FBI is the most powerful law enforcement agency in the country. You do not want to be on their bad side. And if they're going off of the SPLC, then guess who's on their bad side? It's people like you and I, because the SPLC won't hesitate to put anybody on that list that disagrees with their politics.
And how does that roll into the free speech issue? I mean, you've touched on it, but let's flesh that out just a little bit more as to how that can chill free speech. What's the actual effect of it?
Yeah, I mean, if you happen to be on the SPLC list, then that's going to make you more hesitant to say something because you know the FBI goes off of it. Or even if they don't, you've been labeled a certain way, and there are people who take them seriously. So to me, the objective is to prevent people like you and I from expressing our opinions and in this case, using the power of the state to aid them in that objective.
We are visiting with Jeff Charles from redstate.com. The article we're talking about right now is called The Southern Poverty Law Center's Cozy Relationship with the Federal Government Threatens to Chill Free Speech. Is there a cure for this, Jeff? I mean, how do we fix it? I would love to think that federal law enforcement can be brought back into the proper lane to where it's only prosecuting crime regardless of who does it, regardless of politics. I'm not convinced that that's the case, but what can, if anything, can be done to correct course here?
Well, I mean, my solution is a bit more radical, Mike. I think we should get rid of the FBI. I think this should be left up to the states. I think that state law enforcement agencies can work together and have their own coalition to deal with the types of crimes that the FBI deals with. And in that way, they're more accountable because they're more closer to the people. I think that's the only shot. It doesn't mean it'll get rid of corruption completely, but the FBI has been corrupt from its inception, and it has been weaponized from its inception. I mean, I don't think that we're in a place to where we can tear it down and build it back up, or we can reform it. It's gone. It is a corrupt entity. And so I think that we need to cut out the cancer.
I'm trying to find an argument against what you just said. Give me a second. Nope, but I can't think of one, which means that you and I are probably now on another list, Jeff.
Probably. Yeah, we're on the SPLC list right now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Jeff, last few minutes we got here. Let me ask you about another one of the articles. You've been writing a whole lot lately there on RedState.com. I mean, do you just churn out another article like every hour and a half or something out there? Holy cow, you've been busy.
I'm busy.
Oh, man. All right, changing hearts, changing minds. Here's where the pro-life movement should focus. That's one of the other articles. Of course, we just had this past week the 1-year mark of the Dobbs decision being handed down, and obviously the political ramifications of it. There are electoral ramifications of that. But when you look at the pro-life movement, what's your advice for the movement on where we go from here if we truly believe that what our goal is saving lives, not just winning political victories?
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing is that the pro-life movement does understand this. It's, the goal was to overturn Roe v. Wade. That's happened, but it doesn't stop there. I mean, you have red states passing laws, since the states can decide now. They're passing laws restricting abortion. Blue states are passing laws making abortion more acceptable or accessible. We have to focus on the culture, Mike. We have to get more involved in educating people about abortion, about alternatives to abortion. We need to work on creating an infrastructure that helps mothers who have unexpected pregnancies. One way is I also wrote a story about a firefighter who adopted a baby girl who was abandoned by her mother. She was surrendered through a safe haven box illegally. And so this firefighter rescued the baby and then adopted her. We need more things like that. We got to get more involved in our communities. We have to bring back a sense of community, because back in the day, if a mother got pregnant, maybe it was unexpected, they'd have friends and family come around her to help her with that issue. We need more of that. I mean, because the government can only do so much. It's good that these laws are happening in red states, but it's the culture that's really going to fix this problem.
Yeah, we're not going to fix the culture through government, at least not exclusively by a lot of means. And that's one of those situations, Jeff, where I think that when the Dobbs decision came and, conservatives or anybody who just recognized the Constitution, there were even a few liberals who said, yeah, that's constitutionally the correct decision because this is rightfully a state's issue. But that does put the pressure on us to follow up with what we have said all these years about personal responsibility and about like the church and community and family stepping up, because if the government doesn't force it and we say we want to save lives, then it's really on us to step up and do what we say that we've been willing to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the government isn't the solution for everything. It can only do so much. It's we, the people, who have to do these things. We have to be out. We need more crisis pregnancy centers, which luckily, I mean, they've already prevented a lot of abortions, but we have to make it, we have to make it easier for people to adopt. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do. We also need to address the issues that lead mothers to have abortions in the first place. A lot of times it's economic. A lot of times there are other issues at play that we need to deal with as a community. I mean, and I think there are probably plenty of resources that people can come up with to show these mothers, hey, you don't have to terminate your pregnancy. You don't have to kill your baby. There are other options for you.
So what would be the next step in getting that message out culturally? Because there are so many people, Jeff, and God bless them, they mean well, but their immediate instinct is, let's go pass a law. What's the right way to get the message across and say, We're not saying politics aren't important. It's not that laws aren't important, but refocus person to person, heart to heart. Because I think, Jeff, a lot of people just think unless we're doing it en masse and it affects one thing, affects thousands or millions of people, it's just not going to work. But that heart to heart aspect of it that you're talking about, and I think you're 100% right, is what's really effective, because a lot of times we forget how many people are out there who can do things heart to heart, like through a pregnancy resource center or their church or something else.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is evangelizing these organizations. I would suspect that a lot of mothers don't even know that crisis pregnancy centers exist. I mean, and they go to Planned Parenthood, and they're not going to tell them. So I think when you're asking the question, the first thought that came to mind is that the church needs to get back to doing what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be serving the local community at the grassroots level. This isn't really a federal or national endeavor as much as it is a local endeavor. Get involved, have more events, go to festivals, show up where people are, get your message out about the services that you provide, and giving the actual arguments against abortion. But I think the church has a real opportunity to lead here. I'm not sure if they're up to it, but I know some are, some aren't. But I think it's going to take a radical revolution, radical cultural revolution at the grassroots local level.
The News Roundup comes your way just ahead right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. What happens next?
These individuals that are sending him money have ties to Chinese intelligence.
Happens right here.
I've not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
They're not competent and they are not honest.
And he's trying to minimize the Durham report.
Because the Durham report exposes him and his FBI.
Big time.
His FISA warrants on the Trump campaign.
Everything.
He is full of, and he can go himself. So I don't want to hear another word about that.
Vic Porcelli, live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo for the cleaning pros at Zero Res. The team at Zero Res has rescued our home many times over the years, and right now they have an amazing summer offer you don't want to miss. Book a cleaning now for your home or business, and you'll get 20% off all services. Just mention the Colombo special, and whether it's carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, or air ducts, you'll get their best in the business cleaning for 20% off. Call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Spell it forwards or backwards, it spells the same, Zero Res.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
What if the music stopped? If the familiar voices were silenced? If there were no breaking news updates? What if your companion and connection to your community came with a monthly fee? Don't worry, we're free local radio with you wherever you go, celebrating 100 years and looking forward to the next 100. We are broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and let Congress know you depend on your local TV and radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
This news update brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
All right, Donald Trump and his team respond to the leaked audio of him discussing alleged classified documents. A lot of confusion surrounding this, a lot of chaos, which is pretty much par for the course in politics in 2023. Also, here's a shocker. Everybody brace yourselves. Illinois friends, your taxes are going up this week.
Oh, no, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I know you don't believe the Governor J.B. Pritzker and the left-wing legislature would raise taxes, but I'm just telling you, it's true. It's true.
You know, when you look up Illinois in the dictionary, it says taxes right there.
That's right. I saw a really funny meme. It was a woman standing in front of the sign that says, "Welcome to Illinois."
Yeah.
And somebody had changed it. It said, "Welcome to Illinois." Good luck with that. Also, kids can't tell the difference between candy and an edible, and apparently some parents can't tell the difference between common sense and recklessness. Yeah. All right, 314-912-1019. If you got any thoughts on any things we're talking about today, let me know. Let's talk. Coming up on 5:53, I'm Mike Ferguson. That's Estelle Ponticus here. The St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office got an update on this. So the Circuit Attorney's Office continues to enlist the help of other agencies to clean up the mess left behind by Kimberly Gardner. So here's what's new. At least 8 federal prosecutors are now going to work temporarily to help prosecute the backlog of murder and manslaughter cases in the city of St. Louis. Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore, as you may recall, has already hired and rehired several prosecutors and is also using lawyers on loan from surrounding county prosecutors' offices as well. Interesting, when you have somebody who does not subscribe to the left-wing ideology and doesn't bend the knee to the Soros approach to criminal justice, things get done. And so now basically you have prosecutors swarming around the office actually taking on cases and working to bring them to trial to put bad guys in jail so they don't hurt and kill more people. Fascinating approach there.
Mr. Gore, if you're listening, we're rooting for you.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's see. Here's a follow-up to that breaking news that happened yesterday. Former President Trump, he's obviously now dealing with the audio that CNN has leaked, which apparently, from what we can tell, probably came from the Department of Justice. That's just my guess. A leaked audio of him talking about what's believed to be sensitive materials back in 2021 after he left office. It is likely to be used as evidence against him in his indictment over the whole Mar-a-Lago document thing. So the candidate spokeswoman, Alina Habba, was on Fox News last night, talking about what Trump is heard saying in that recording, which is something that was recorded in New Jersey in July of 2021.
He said exactly what the Presidential Records Act says. A president has the right to declassify documents. Who doesn't? A non-president, a senator, like Joe Biden, when he had classified documents and took them out 40 years ago, 30 years ago, and had no right to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that anybody's arguing about the Biden thing, but what's concerning and what I didn't hear her address is President Trump actually saying, I could have classified these as president, but now I can't. So now what needs to be determined is what was actually in front of him. Were they actual classified national security documents, or were they references to it and the documents were not there? We don't have video, so we don't know what they were talking about.
And speaking of talking about, to whom was he speaking? I'm just wondering who the lady was, what exactly was going on.
Well, that, like we said yesterday, it was those were people who were hired to write the memoirs of Mark Meadows.
Oh, Mark Meadows, that's right.
Right. So that's why they were doing the interview. They were interviewing him for the Mark Meadows memoir. And, of course, the Trump organization also is angry that it was leaked as well. And my caution, again, is to everybody is let's not assume we know the full story. Now, that goes for Trump supporters and that goes for Trump opponents because we need to get all of the context because these are very, very serious accusations. Okay, here's the breaking news I know is going to shatter your image of Illinois' government still. Illinois' new fiscal year starts July 1st, so it starts Saturday, right? That's when the state's 1% tax on groceries is reinstated. So it's going back up. Buying food is going to get more expensive. I mean, you didn't think Illinois would make a tax cut permanent, did you?
No.
Okay, there you go. That's just so we have the right expectations. And taxes on gasoline are also going to go up 3.1 cents per gallon on Saturday as well.
I expected that too.
Yeah, that's they've built in regular tax increases on gasoline to be basically indexed for inflation and cost of living, for lack of a better term. And so what that means is they are planning to make gasoline more expensive basically twice a year here on out. So if you think it's expensive to buy gas in Illinois now, just wait. It's going to keep getting worse. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. Oh, my goodness. Just such stupidity. All right, the Cardinals start off their series with the Astros the right way. They pick up a 4-2 win at Busch Stadium. Jordan Montgomery gets the win. Jordan Hicks gets the save. Paul DeYoung had another home run. Jordan Walker, because we have a lot of Jordans on the team, Jordan Walker extended his hit streak as well. This is really cool. He's now at 16 games. That is the longest hit streak in Major League Baseball at the moment. Game 2 of the series is tonight with a first pitch time of 6:45. Miles Michaelis on the mound for the Redbirds.
Hi, Sean Long for STL Fenceworks. STL Fenceworks is proud and excited to install American-made aluminum and vinyl fence products, as well as American-made decking. For instance, STL Fenceworks has teamed up with Jareth Manufacturing. Jareth invented the aluminum fence industry over 50 years ago. The Jareth product is wholly sourced and manufactured in the U.S., and STL Fenceworks is the third largest Jareth customer in the world. STL Fenceworks is vinyl fencing also, and not just white. We partner with National Vinyl Products to provide you with tan, clay, gray, and variegated wood grain vinyl fence products too, all made in the U.S. Not to be forgotten, STL Fenceworks is maintenance-free decking. STL Fenceworks is the #1 distributor of Wolf Cellular PVC in the Midwest, proudly manufactured in the U.S. and voted #1 maintenance-free decking product in the United States. Let STL Fenceworks make your outdoor space magical. Visit stlfenceworks.com today and learn how we can make your backyard dreams into a reality. At STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s.
I should have been a cowboy.
Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks.
Let's go, girls.
Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com.
I'll go back.
Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa.
I love this station.
90s New Country streaming now.
Home is where the heart is, but it's also where the money is too. If you want to make the most of your home, whether you're buying, selling, or staying put, tune into HomeWise, the financial talk show that gives you the real deal on home ownership. HomeWise tells you the secrets that banks, realtors, and contractors don't want you to know, and shows you how to save thousands of dollars on your mortgage, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. HomeWise, how to get the most out of every dollar you put into your home. Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Did the Justice Department hinder the Hunter Biden tax fraud investigation? An IRS whistleblower tells the CBS Evening News that he was barred from pursuing investigative leads that, quote, could have led us to President Biden. Well, here we go again. Smoke from the still burning Canadian wildfires is pouring into the U.S. Fouling the air across the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley, the EPA says that parts of Illinois, lower Michigan, and southern Wisconsin have the worst air quality in the country. And then there's the heat wave that continues holding Texas and other parts of the South in its sweltering grip.
A heat dome sits over Texas, breaking records like in San Antonio, says National Weather Service meteorologist Brian Jackson.
Over 110 heat index. They've had 23 hours so far this year, and that exceeds their total in every year previous to this, back to 1946.
He says there are excessive heat warnings over much of Texas and parts of Mississippi, Louisiana, Arizona, and New Mexico. That's the rest of Texas, Oklahoma, and portions of the Gulf Coast. Then there's an excessive heat watch over the Mid-South. I'm Julie Walker.
The Biden administration is sending Ukraine more military aid.
And includes key capabilities to support Ukraine's air defense requirements, as well as additional armored vehicles, anti-armor systems, munitions, and other equipment valued up to $500 million.
That's Brigadier General Pat Ryder at the Pentagon. At least 9 people killed in a Russian missile strike on a crowded restaurant in eastern Ukraine, with 3 children among the victims. And rescuers continue digging through the rubble of that destroyed building. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures have been mixed so far. Right now, the Dow futures about 10 points higher, while NASDAQ futures are down 54 points. S&P futures 7 points in the red ahead of this morning's opening bell. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Miss Prager here. Sue and I mean it when we say dogs are part of our family, and there's nothing like their loyal companionship. So we provide them with Rough Greens, R-U-F-F, because we want them to feel healthy and be with us as long as possible. I know Charlie Kirk feels the same way.
The Pragers and I couldn't agree more. I rely on my trusted furry friend, Mr. Briggs, who's an absolute machine, and he relies on me to provide what's best for him. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black has packed Rough Greens, not a dog food, but a supplement full of vitamins, minerals, digestive enzymes, and omega oils that Mr. Briggs absolutely needs and loves. Trying Rough Greens for your dog just makes sense.
Greetings, Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here. I'm honored that the Pragers and Charlie trust their dog's health to Rough Green. I'm so confident that Rough Green can help your dog too that I'm offering you a free Jumpstart trial bag. Just cover the shipping. Yes, dog food is dead food, but it doesn't have to be. Go to ruffgreens.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Matt Chambers with your first alert forecast. Canadian wildfire smoke in our area this morning, some of the thickest we've seen. Air quality unhealthy, and there is an impact on visibility. In addition to that, a few scattered showers, even a rumble of thunder possible this morning. Otherwise, more humid, an afternoon high of 91. Down to only 78 tonight, and heat advisories kick in tomorrow and Friday. Dangerous highs near 101 both days. Heat index 105 to 110 as the low storm chance continues. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war in the term life industry. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man aged 45, non-smoker, can get $1 million of coverage for $75 per month. Level rate for 10 years. Or a man aged 50, non-smoker, can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of $110. Level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for a new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote. 800-786-9161. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-786-9161. Remember, 1-800-786-9161. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-smoker rate class. Exam required to qualify.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion. Mike Ferguson.
I am a young, vibrant man.
Gabe Pfeiffer. I'm Batman.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up! Get up!
We can't rebuild our economy and meet this climate crisis
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, this is going to be a pretty tense day based on this news story out in New York, politically and what's become, thank you to people like Al Sharpton and Alvin Bragg, a racially charged case of protecting others. Or is it? Is that what it is? The Daniel Penny indictment going to be unsealed today in New York. And you remember this one, right, Gabe?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah, this is the one where the crazy guy was yelling and screaming at people.
Conceivably threatening individuals.
Yeah.
That's
on the subway.
On the subway, right.
Yeah.
And then
confined space and trapped people.
Yeah. Daniel Penny, who's a Marine, took the guy down, held him, and then the guy died.
Yeah.
So he has been indicted by a New York grand jury at the request of Alvin Bragg, and that's going to be unsealed today. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. Also, apparently a lot of kids are getting into grown-ups edibles thinking they're candy.
No kidding.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at 6:20. I saw this news story. I went, I wonder if Gabe will have something to say about this. So
might.
You get your chance at 6:20, my friend. All right.
Okay.
All right. 6:06 right now. I'm Mike. That's Gabe over there, and we've got Stell right here as well. Okay, just real quick here. The Supreme Court's ruling on the Biden student loan forgiveness. Okay, that could happen like any day now. It could happen today. It could happen tomorrow. I would think at the latest it would be Friday because generally the hand-downs happen by the end of June.
Yes.
Now, based on the questions and the skepticism shown by the different justices when this case was being argued, the guess that most people have is that it's going to go against the Biden administration.
Yes.
And so here's what that actually means. That means that unless Congress passes a law that says we're going to forgive the student loan, if the Supreme Court rules against the Biden administration, what's going to happen is everybody's going to start paying back their student loans again because their terrible economic policy of the Biden and Trump administrations said, we're just going to wipe away all interest and you don't have to pay back the student loans because of COVID.
Yeah,
and so
kind of a don't worry about it.
Right, exactly, for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Now, so the Biden administration sees how popular this is,
No
which,
kidding.
by the way, this was really popular under Trump and it was popular under Biden.
Yeah.
Doesn't change the fact it was terrible economic policy, but,
It
whatever.
is what it is.
So if everybody has to start paying back the loans after, 3 years now?
God,
2.5 years, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And this is my household, too. And I've been making small payments just to get rid of the interest for my daughter's student loans. My student loans have been paid off for decades. But that's going to affect our household as well.
Sure.
As it will everybody. So then what happens is there is no other political outcome other than Republicans get blamed for all of these so-called extra payments that suddenly young people and middle-aged people having in.
Yeah, that's kind of the weird political reality here. Is like, yes, I mean, we got to return to some sort of economic reality. We've got to stop the Biden administration from taking this extra power away from the legislature. But at the same time, just based on timing alone, basically, we're going to eat the political consequences of it.
Right. Now, whether or not the Supreme Court rules that the Biden administration is unable to keep pausing the payments remains another story. Because what people need to understand is the Supreme Court is not ruling on whether or not it's good policy. That's not what they're ruling on. That's not their lane. What they're ruling on is whether or not the Biden administration has the authority to simply forgive tens of thousands of dollars of student debt for each borrower. Congress, Republicans say that is Congress's job because you're, in essence, spending money when you tell somebody they don't have to pay back a loan. And the Biden administration is saying, no, this is under the purview of the Department of Education. If we want to change our budget and not accept that revenue by student loan forgiveness, we should have the right to do that. It looks like the Supreme Court's going to rule against the Biden administration. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely outcome, especially given the originalist stance of this particular court.
Right. And so economically, that's going to be kind of right-sizing the decision, even though that's not the Supreme Court's interest. Constitutionally, they're going to be ruling that the Biden administration just simply does not have the authority to do this.
Right.
And that the power of the purse goes to the House of Representatives and Congress in general.
Like the Constitution says?
Like the Constitution says.
Okay.
Politically, Republicans, I think, are going to have a very difficult time spinning this as something that they're going to win votes on.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
I don't think we're going to win any votes on this one.
No,
I think
no,
we're going to lose votes. The most the Republican Party can do is obfuscate and minimize this.
Yes,
essentially,
yes.
It's like change the subject.
Right.
Basically, pull a lefty.
Yeah.
And change the subject. Sadly, in this case, we're not pulling it away from reality and good policy and things like that. We're pulling it away from you actually have to pay the loan that you took out and agreed to in the first place. It's silly where we are right now.
Oh yeah,
it
because
really is.
It's
silly.
not about. I mean, if saying what is true and good policy is what wins, then Republicans are all over this.
Yeah.
But I think they realize they're like brace for the storm on this. So at this point, if you've got student loans that you haven't been making payments on, plan on them by the fall.
Yeah, they're coming.
They're at some point they're coming back. The Biden administration is going to be desperate to keep these things from going back into effect until after the next election. That's really what they want.
Absolutely.
And if they do go back into effect, then they want to make sure that is pegged completely on the Republicans and not the fact that they stepped out of their lane constitutionally. They want it's like, look at those mean Republicans making you pay back $400, $500, $600. There are going to be ads with young families, that we are buried in this debt because I wanted to become a nurse to serve people and I owe $80,000. Now I have a baby. And why is Congressman, Joe Republican, hurting our economy? We are getting evicted from our house because of those Republicans.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
You're going to have a ton of sob stories. Many, many, many sob stories. You're going to have the images of some poor frazzled looking lady just with her head in her hands, looking at a piece of paper at the kitchen table. That's how you frame that whole thing if you're on the other side, and that's the type of thing that works. Which I mean, it really sucks, but we were warned about this.
Oh, yeah.
Once the people learn that they can vote themselves money from via government largesse, we're in trouble as a republic. So this is the trouble that we're reaping at this point.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to find ways to continue to push back restarting those student loans, but they're going to try. Otherwise, everybody, you should be budgeting and planning on payments resuming this fall. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but you should plan on it.
I've been paying extra this whole time, so when it goes back to normal, it'll be like, okay,
You've
whatever.
cut into your principal just like I've been doing with my daughter's loans. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, the Daniel Penny case. They are unsealing the indictment, so we're going to find out what the actual charges are. We know Daniel Penny's been indicted. The prosecuting attorney's office wanted to charge him with manslaughter with up to 19 years in prison. We don't know whether the indictment, the grand jury, is going to go along with that charge or other charges. And of course, people like Al Sharpton have run in and, tried to make hay out of this as well. It comes down to a tragic situation. I mean, a crazy person, a mentally ill person died, which nobody wanted to see. The question is to whether or not Daniel Penny was trying to protect other people or not. That's what he says. Witnesses say the guy was threatening. The guy was, scaring people.
Conceivably dangerous.
Yeah. Well, he had a conviction for assaulting somebody on the subway not even 2 years ago. So he's got a history of this. Now, Daniel Penny wouldn't have known that. But the bottom line is that we've got a situation where whether or not this is justified against Daniel Penny, we're going to find out, probably sometime mid-morning or late morning today what that indictment says. Here's the other part of this, Gabe, and this is what we're going to talk about at 6:35 with Sergeant Betsy Smith from the National Police Association.
Yes.
You know that if you help protect other people, you could end up facing 19 years in prison for manslaughter. Are you more or less likely to help somebody who is being threatened or even attacked?
Even if Daniel Penny is exonerated here and he gets off, goes scot-free, as could happen, I think the chilling effect is already in society. People have looked the normal people who would say in this situation I would, and I don't know if you guys do this. I kind of feel like all guys do this. We kind of war game sometimes in situations where it's like, what, if somebody comes in to do this, I'm going to do this and that. That protection scenario. The natural things males tend to do. I think we're all going to be in a position where we need to just logically suppress our natural intent to protect ourselves and individuals around us. Well, we're sure going to protect ourselves.
Right, we're going to protect ourselves, and we're going to protect our wives, and but in this case, Daniel Penny was on a subway. He didn't know all those people around him.
Your community that would for which you would sacrifice has gotten a lot smaller.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Because I've done that thought exercise, that mental exercise that you're just describing, and I'm thinking, let's say that Rachel and I are at a restaurant somewhere, and some crazy guy comes in and starts screaming or starts smacking, somebody around. Before, that's not right. You go and stop him, and I employ what little martial arts I know and try to,
Control
keep somebody
the situation.
else can stop, stop somebody from getting hurt. At this point, you go, is it worth the risk to me and my wife?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Other people can, at this point, it's like, you know what? To protect myself from being thrown into prison, you're going to have to endure whatever beating is coming to you.
Yeah. Or sit there and watch somebody else take it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You like that other guy who's getting hurt right now, I can't go help him. I can't risk it.
Right. Yeah, and that's the chilling effect that you just referenced, because we love to think that I'm going to protect the innocent, I'm going to protect the weak, but the reality is that you also have to think about the effect on your own family, and that's what happens when you have this mindset and this ideology. And frankly, this is one of the reasons that we've had. It's a minor reason. I think the real reason is because Kimberly Gardner undermined the law enforcement and everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, right here in St. Louis, I'm like, I could see, while Kimberly Gardner was prosecutor, I'm being the one who would be prosecuted instead of the actual person who was threatening people.
Absolutely.
But all over the country, especially if there's a difference in skin tone between the two, you have to worry about that stuff now, and you shouldn't. You should just worry about who's innocent, who's vulnerable, who's not, regardless of what they look like.
A video came across my feed. I think it's a body cam from a police officer who responded to a white man had called the police on a black man who had pulled a knife on him and his family. And,
clearly the caller's racist.
Well, he was crying because he was worried that he was going to be perceived as racist. That's kind of the situation we're in now, where you do what you need to do to protect yourself and your family, and you're the one who comes away not unscathed, but certainly emotionally damaged by the idea that you could get canceled for protecting yourself.
Yeah, jeez,
it's crazy.
All right, so 6:35. I'm looking forward to this conversation with Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith from the National Police Association. We'll get a law enforcement perspective on this as well, because, by the way, wasn't the police that charged Daniel Penny. They did not charge him. It was the prosecutor and the grand jury. All right, just ahead here, Gabe, I know you got some thoughts on this.
I have thoughts.
Channel 4 had a story where apparently calls to the Poison Control Center over kids finding mommy and daddy's or brothers or sisters' edibles. Those are going way up in the area. We'll talk about that just ahead. Bottom line here is I'll give you the spoiler. Don't be stupid. If you're doing your edibles, just don't be dumb on it, okay?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that just ahead right here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hey guys, Columbo here, reminding you that if you belong to an organization like a school or a church, or your kids are part of a group or a sports team that needs to raise money, there's no better way to do so than with a TJ's Pizza fundraiser. TJ's Pizza has been helping local organizations raise money for over 30 years to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. A local company helping local people, and there's lots of different ways TJ's can help you raise big money fast. Get started now at tjspizza.com.
The Vic Borselli Show.
Ken Kamala me.
The government should not be telling her what to do with our body.
Wait a minute. She said, what did she say there?
The government should not tell us what to do.
With our bodies.
Huh. What about El Jabo?
And masking
and
mandates.
Sure, I did a little Spanish lingo there.
Like I thought it was nice.
El Jabo. Remember Russians? A little Spanish lingo there for you. El Jabo.
Vic Borselli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
This is Julia Gordon-Bramer, your host of Mystic Fix. I'm a professional tarot card reader, author, and scholar of mysticism. Mystic Fix offers playful, practical advice and spiritual tools for modern living. It's a program for the whole being and journeying the lesser-traveled paths. Each show features guests and authors in lively conversation, ranging from crystals to Kabbalah, yoga to Yetis, and of course, tarot card reading.
Mystic Fix, Saturday nights at 8 on News Talk STL.
I'm Susie Moore, and this is More to the Point.
Like many Americans, my television consumption in the 90s included a healthy dose of Seinfeld, which in turn means that I have a sincere appreciation for Festivus, and the traditional airing of grievances and feats of strength associated with it. While we're used to seeing athletes demonstrating feats of strength as they compete on the playing field of whichever sport we happen to be spectating, the notion of such competitions in the corporate or political arena is a bit of a newer twist. Boardroom grappling and debate stage weightlifting haven't made their way into the Olympics as of yet, but they may be becoming a thing. We've got Twitter's Elon Musk and Meta's Mark Zuckerberg vowing to face off in an MMA cage match sometime in the not-too-distant future. The bout is billed to raise money for charity, but really it seems to be about determining whose platform is bigger or better. And we've got 69-year-old Democratic presidential candidate RFK Jr. bench pressing and doing push-ups while bare-chested and showing off a not-at-all shabby physique. There may only be 11 years separating Kennedy and the current president chronologically, but physiologically we're talking worlds apart. So what if the DNC won't let them debate and YouTube keeps yanking his videos? Maybe all it will take is some viral vids of Bobby's feats of strength to best Joe.
Susie Moore is Deputy Managing Editor for RedState.com. For more to the point and everything Susie Moore, log on to RedState.com. Follow Susie on Twitter @SmoozyQ and keep listening to 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey everybody, it's Paul Kurtman. Make sure you join me every Saturday from 12 to 1 here on News Talk STL for the Paul Kurtman Show. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
Going to the city.
Going to the cities, buy some edibles. All right, parents, lock up your gummies. That should go without saying. Put them, secure them. All right.
Unless you're going to De Pere.
To where?
To De Pere. If you're going to De Pere, you might have trouble getting.
Yeah, you're not going to find them in De Pere because not in my backyard. Okay, Karen. De Pere, Karen. All right, with the Daniel Penny indictment being unsealed today, there are probably some people around the country wondering if it's worth it to help protect others when someone's being threatened, just what we were talking about. So at 6:35, we're going to hear a law enforcement perspective on that from our friends at the National Police Association. What could happen to you if you intervene and try to protect somebody else? This is a touchy subject. So we'll talk about that just ahead, right in about 12 minutes or so. All right, 6:23 right now. Okay, hundreds of calls have been taken at the Poison Control Center, and we're talking about the one locally here, due to kids getting into adult edibles. We're talking about the marijuana gummies. Channel 4 did a story on this. Russell Kinsall did a story on this. It's a pretty good, pretty well done story. He basically went over to a dispensary in Brentwood and just went and bought some edibles. And I'm like, well, okay, it's a prop for your story, but what'd you do after that, Russell? I don't know. What I'm saying is if he's off today, then we'll know why. But what's happening is that when you look at some of these, you look at these gummies, these edibles, you can't tell the difference between them and a candy.
Not at all.
That you'd buy at a convenience store or wherever else.
Hey, there's some juji fruits.
That's right. That's how a kid would look at it. And so he interviewed, among other people, Julie Weber from the Poison Control Center.
We're very concerned with the number of calls we've been seeing on children get into the cannabis edible products.
So here's where we're at. In 2022, 125 calls came in for kids 5 and under eating edibles. Now, that's not talking about adults or even teenagers having reactions to it. I don't know if any of those calls came in or not. Right now, the number is on pace to double for the number of kids. And about a third of those calls involve kids who are 2 years old and under.
Oh, my gosh.
So to the kids, and they show it. I mean, they show them. They put like some gummy bears, with the little sugar sprinkles all over them or whatever it is. And then they showed some of these edibles right next to the two. They had different shapes, but it just looked like candy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, colorful gummy candy looking things just look like candy to everybody who can't read.
Yeah, I mean, if you put them out in front of me, because I've seen candy in all kinds of different shapes. I mean, you go to a Quick Trip or a Casey's or
without
whatever,
without a wrapper.
Absolutely go to the dollar store and you get the cheap. It all looks the same.
Yes,
and so the fact that we've got so many of these calls coming in, and I understand that even 250 out of a population of 2.7 million or whatever the case is in the area.
Oh, it's a drop.
That's a little tiny thing, but that's still a couple hundred cases of parents literally leaving drugs out around their kids. Now they're legal drugs, and I am a pro decriminalization person, and I think they should be legal out there. But you've got a responsibility to not be stupid when you decide that this is what you're going to do. I mean, just like the same thing is don't put your beer into your baby's, sippy cup. Don't leave your edibles out on the end table.
Yeah, and I kind of relate this to leaving your firearm out kind of thing.
Absolutely.
We a lot of the firearm deaths that they always report are accidental discharges by young children because they happen upon what looks to them like a cool toy, and they don't know how to handle it. They don't understand the power of it until it's too late. And so it's basically the same thing. It's with the freedom that you should be afforded, you have a greater responsibility. So that's kind of where that falls to me. Now, in terms of my relationship to my love-hate relationship with the freedom to do drugs, this is one of those I guess secondary effects of legalization that kind of comes. But this one is, I think, of the least. That it's the lowest in the totem pole of issues I would bring up as from the anti standpoint. So I mean, in the grand scheme, it's like, yeah, I told you, but also this isn't exactly the indictment of legalized marijuana that some opponents might want to use to do.
It's an indictment of people being careless, reckless, and frankly stupid.
Indictment of
your
public
kid gets
stupidity,
into your edibles. That's on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever called the poison control hotline?
I had never.
Okay, we did one. When I was married the first time, and my son was like just a baby. He had a fever, and so I gave him some baby Tylenol.
Yeah.
And my first wife did not realize I had given him baby Tylenol, and then she gave him baby Tylenol.
So he was double dosed.
He was double dosed with baby Tylenol, and we freaked out thinking we'd just poisoned the kid.
Right.
So we called into a panic, and they're like, "You're fine.
It's
we
Tylenol.
appreciate you worrying about it, but you're fine." He had 2 drops instead of 1. He's fine. That was the only time I ever called. But it was reassuring to know that we didn't create a toxic monster out of it.
You didn't give him superpowers either.
But in this case right here, here's the thing that I wonder. I mean, they're saying they're on pace for 250 or more calls a year. How many people realize what happened and they are worried about, being in trouble for letting their kids have access to that and don't call and just wait it out?
Oh, wow.
And this doesn't include people going to the emergency room either. These are just calls to the Poison Control Center.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but I imagine that happens. But that would happen as much as anything else. I would imagine, because it isn't as though that these are, like you said, it's legal now to own it. So at the very least, you kind of with legalization, we've eliminated that aspect of the reluctance that may come.
And with there's a new law going into effect on the Missouri side on August 1st, I believe it is, that changes how the packaging is done, because it's now going to be restricted to where the packaging of edibles is not allowed to look like candy. So it's not allowed to have, I guess,
the colorful decoration,
the colorful
type
things,
yeah.
cartoony stuff,
right?
Wild and crazy font, looks like it was drawn up by a 10-year-old girl, stuff like. So that's not allowed anymore as of August 1st. No, that's probably a good idea, but the fact of the matter is, once you open those, you can't tell the difference.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean,
at least for another 30 or 45 minutes.
The kid's not going to care if if it's a plain white bag with the black lettering like some of these others. They're not going to care if they can see the gummy candy inside that bag.
Right. Yeah.
And meanwhile, I can see a parent saying, Johnny sure is laid back.
That's right. Why is he so hungry? He has eaten all of our pretzels. What in the world is going on?
Why is he ordering tacos?
Give me back my phone.
That's right. Jeez. All right. So, again, bottom line, parents, if you want to do your edibles, but don't be stupid. Just, understand this.
Now, of course, in my mind, my problem is those two things usually don't match together. But that's just me.
I get it.
You see what I did there?
Okay, just ahead here, the Daniel Penny indictment being unsealed today. Is this putting a damper on people being willing to protect each other, maybe even themselves, but definitely each other? We've got our friends from the National Police Association, Sergeant Betsy Smith. I remember she gave us some great perspective once we had that tragic school shooting here from a law enforcement perspective. So we're going to hear from her right around 6:34 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Matt Chambers with your first alert forecast. Canadian wildfire smoke in our area this morning, some of the thickest we've seen. Air quality unhealthy, and there is an impact on visibility. In addition to that, a few scattered showers, even a rumble of thunder possible this morning. Otherwise, more humid, an afternoon high of 91. Down to only 78 tonight, and heat advisories kick in tomorrow and Friday. Dangerous highs near 101 both days. Heat index 105 to 110 as the low storm chance continues. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This is a scary time when it comes to your money, especially if buying a home. That's why you need Homestead Financial Mortgage. I know the owners, met the team. You can trust Homestead will be with you every step of the way. Call 24/7 with any question or concern. Homestead is on your schedule, not banker's hours. This is not just about buying a home. It's about trust. You can go to my website, larry.homesteadfinancial.com. larry.homesteadfinancial.com.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. That's 800-432-8150.
Staff Sergeant Mark Anthony Madrid.
Staff Sergeant Samantha Cowell.
I'm Staff Sergeant
I am
Alex
Staff
Keeler.
Sergeant
William Lewis, and I am proud to defend my family and our nation.
The Air Force Reserve is part of the story of this great nation.
I'm grateful that I have a chance to wear the uniform of the heroes that went before me.
I am proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference in the world.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as reserve citizen airmen. Even as technology evolves and changes, our commitment to defend and protect this nation remains steadfast. We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving. We celebrate our proud history and look towards an exciting and uniting future. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
And I am proud to be a member. And I'm proud to serve in the United States. And I am proud to protect our country.
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Democrats do what they do. We choose truth over facts.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Putin clearly made a strategic error here.
Russian mercenaries ending their march toward Moscow.
It's obviously a significant internal division.
Confirmation that COVID-19 likely escaped from the Wuhan lab.
101.9 and 94.1.
I've not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever.
You go to jail for the same crimes that Hunter Biden has committed.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
Daily routine takes your soul, lost without a trace. It holds you down and turns you around and puts you in your place.
I really hope that you never find yourself in a situation to where you have to defend yourself or somebody else in a life or death situation. But in this day and age, a lot of people may be worried about defending the life of others or even themselves for fear of prosecution. Yes, that's really a thing. So how do we know when we're justified in protecting your life? I'm Mike Ferguson. I am now joined by Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith from the National Police Association. And Betsy, first of all, good to talk to you again. Appreciate you being on the show. Secondly, this debate's kind of come back up over the last 2 months or so after the Daniel Penny situation. And he, of course, is the Marine who ended up in a conflict with Jordan Neely and ended up applying a chokehold to him, or at least a restraint. And Jordan Neely ended up dying in that case. And now Daniel Penny is being prosecuted for, I guess, a civilian version of excessive force, I guess. And that's got a lot of confusion on when is it okay to protect yourself or restrain or use some kind of force. So from a law enforcement perspective, what are you looking at when it comes to these type of situations where somebody gets hurt or, God forbid, dies?
Well, in theory, you as a citizen are to be able to defend your own life or the life of an innocent third person when you feel in fear of death or great bodily harm. Very similar circumstances to a law enforcement officer. The problem that we have, and I want everybody to understand this, it's not the police who decide what charges are going to be rendered in any given case. It's the prosecutor. So when we go back and look at the Daniel Penny case, for example, in New York, NYPD did not immediately arrest Daniel Penny after Jordan Neely died on that subway car after our young Marine, Daniel Penny, applied a compliance hold. The prosecutor took it to a grand jury, and the grand jury decided to indict him. And that's what I want people to think about, that it's not necessarily what the police say. It's going to be what the prosecutor says in your area. And it's sad that we have to think about this, because the law is the law, right? I should be able to defend myself. I should be able to defend, my grandkids or my husband. But a lot of it depends on where you live and where you're at the time of the use of force.
Boy, that can be really complicating, because that's already a subjective decision-making process and who's going to look at it. So now, depending, I guess, on the legal or even political or cultural ideology of the prosecutor, it could be really hard to tell what's going to happen. But if you're in a split-second situation, split-second decision environment, you just got to make a call and then just live with whatever happens.
Well, you're right. We used to have a saying, better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And that's what you as a citizen really need to think about. So what we would encourage people to do, the National Police Association, we strongly believe in your Second Amendment rights to be able to own firearms and to be able to utilize them to protect yourself. So we really encourage people, if you're going to carry a firearm, that you do everything according to the law, whether you live in a constitutional carry state or a permit state, but also make sure that you get some training, make sure that you have perhaps some sort of insurance product that will help you pay legal fees should you become entangled in something. And then, you know what we suggest, and this is the same thing my husband and I teach our law enforcement students, is visualize. When you're out, walking around, or you're out, you're sitting around your couch or whatever, visualize any different scenarios that you might get involved in. What if I'm getting a cup of coffee and somebody comes in and commits an armed robbery? What if somebody breaks into my house? What if somebody tries to carjack me in my car as I'm going to the grocery store? Visualize what you would do, how you would respond. Start, not to make you paranoid, but to make your brain ready to make those, exactly what you said, Mike, split-second decisions.
We are visiting with Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith from the National Police Association. When you look at the video of the Daniel Penny situation, how do you assess that? I mean, if you were using that to investigate while you're an active police officer, what did you see, Betsy?
Well, when you look at the video and then you combine that with the statements that Mr. Penny made on video, you see a situation of a man who is violent. He's out of control. He's screaming things like, I want to die. I don't care if I die, things like that. And then Daniel Penny and two other men, and since this has become a racial issue, Daniel Penny's white, the second man is brown, and the third man is black. And they are assisting Daniel Penny in what we would call a compliance hold. I know everybody calls it a chokehold, but it's a hold not intended to just gain compliance. I think we're going to find out in the toxicology that it's likely that Jordan Neely had a lot of drugs in his system, and that probably helped lead to his death. But I don't see a man, Daniel Penny, trying to murder another man. I see him trying to control a man who is out of control, and that's exactly what he said on his video statement.
So when you look at the prosecution, and this is Alvin Bragg, who's, famous for other prosecutions that he's making right now as well, but I don't want to get into the politics of it, but you have somebody who's very far on the left. Do we run the risk of people seeing someone else in danger and saying it's not worth the risk to help protect others? I mean, police officers can only be so many places at one time.
Well, and that's absolutely correct. We have a shortage of law enforcement officers in this country. And, in that situation on the New York subway, there was no law enforcement or security authority to be able to help out. So here's young Daniel Penny, who was a Marine, who's a trainer, who says, you know what, I'm going to have to step in. I think every person out there is going to have to make that decision. My husband and I have discussed this many times with each other, and we have agreed that we will be those people who step in to help the vulnerable. And I think every American has to make that decision for themselves. But I sure would encourage anybody that as Americans, we need to be able to help each other and protect each other. When danger is seconds away, often the police are minutes away.
Yeah. All right, Betsy, we just got a minute or so left. I think when people are doing those mental exercises, because those are tough, a lot of times we think of ourselves when we review those situations as though we're in some kind of action movie, but real life situations happen so quickly. What would be maybe some resources somebody can go to and say, how do I think through this to decide if I'm prepared to protect somebody or even myself?
Most of your local gun ranges have some sort of training class to help you understand the law in your state and then understand how to make those moves, whether it's with a firearm or not. And I would also suggest martial arts training for anybody. It's fun, it keeps you in great shape, and it helps you to make those really good decisions to protect yourself or others.
I absolutely agree. My study of judo over the years has been one of the most enjoyable things I've done. All right, Betsy, how do we connect with you or the National Police Association?
So visit us at nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org. You can find us on Twitter at NatPolice ASSN Association. And I'm on Twitter at Sergeant Betsy Smith.
Good to talk to you again, Betsy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, that's great advice from Betsy. But here's the thing. You don't know how you're going to react until you're actually in that situation. So getting the training, she's 100% right about that. But I got to know, I got to ask you, with the possibility that you're going to end up going to jail if you defend somebody else, like in this case, Daniel Penny, a lot of people are saying, hey, he was just protecting other people. It's what it looked like on the video to me. And now he could end up going to prison for doing that. Does that make you rethink? Does that make you think twice about defending somebody else who's innocent? I mean, a lot of people would be really justified in just saying, you know what? Not my problem. I'm walking out. I'm not getting involved. And that leaves the vulnerable and the weak in our society even more vulnerable and weak. And it empowers criminal predators regardless of where you are in the country. It's not an easy thing, but part of the problem is that we have to make split-second decisions, and oftentimes prosecutors have to make unpopular decisions, or they make political decisions in the form of what Alvin Bragg is apparently doing in New York. All right, what do you think? 314-912-1019. I know I was rambling a little bit, but 314-912-1019. Let me know what you think right here on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Lost without a trace. They hold you down and turn you around and put you in your place. Another day, another dollar, another pretty face.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hold on to your dreams. Hold on, even that seems. Everyone around you has their little schemes. Listen to your heart. Hold on to your dreams.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. The city was booming. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline. St. Louis City Republicans believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican Pat Curtis, Farber Treasurer.
iHelp is the immigrant home English learning program here in St. Louis that helps empower immigrant families by providing individualized, in-home English language education and tools for the effective navigation of our community. iHelp connects volunteer teachers with adult immigrant and refugee learners in our community to develop English and life skills. To learn more or to volunteer as a tutor, visit ihelpstl.org. That's ihelpstl.org.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
From the Rumble chat box, guys, Jay Monty says, it's not justice, it's mob mentality.
For which now?
Regarding the Daniel Penny situation, because, and I think he's got a point, if I'm reading what he's saying right, this is a case where normally, given the fact that there are witnesses just saying, yeah, this crazy guy was threatening people, and, he held him down, he wasn't beating him or stabbing him, but he had him in... Betsy Smith kept calling it a compliance
hold, yeah.
Which is different from a chokehold, but clearly something went wrong with it, obviously. Now, I don't know what the autopsy showed on Neely or not, but the mob reaction was people were protesting and Al Sharpton was throwing a fit, and they were putting political pressure on Alvin Bragg to make charges. And then he takes it to the grand jury, which has a much, as we know, lower standard of cause for indicting.
Right.
So I think that there is a little bit of that.
Yeah, I
At
suppose.
least a little bit of that involved, but we'll see what the charges are a little bit later on today. 6 49 right now. Excuse me. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Stel Ponticus here. Guys, the case of Jeffrey Epstein, it's been settled. It's we know what happened now.
Oh, do we?
Oh yeah.
Really?
The government told us they've got a new report that's been filed.
So they investigated themselves, and found that there was no wrongdoing.
Well, they found that there were a lot of mistakes made.
Mistakes, but mistakes have been made.
So what happened is they said, you know what, federal jail guards in the Jeffrey Epstein case, and just a whole bunch of mistakes, including the fact that none of the surveillance cameras were working. And you know what? They knew that, but they just didn't get around to fixing those. And somehow a bunch of extra linens were left in his Jeffrey Epstein cell.
Really?
Yeah. So here's what it is. The federal report says that Jeffrey Epstein was left alone in his cell with a surplus of linens the night that he died. Of course, the official cause of death is suicide. Nearly all of the surveillance cameras in his unit didn't work, and then all the workers were on overtime and were exhausted, and 2 of them have already pled guilty to fudging the books, saying that they were making rounds when they didn't, according to this report.
Huh.
So they had a shortage of employees, some of whom were sleeping and shopping online, according to the report, and none of the cameras were working. And somehow he had a bunch of extra linens in his cell. And he didn't have a roommate or a cellmate, I guess, because if somebody's on suicide watch, which apparently he had made some sort of a feeble attempt a week or 2 before, so he was supposed to have somebody in there with him as a cellmate.
Sure.
But he didn't. And that all slipped through the cracks. So what a tremendous confluence of unfortunate circumstances that resulted in nobody seeing what happened with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, is it possible that he went and looked and said, my life is over, this is terrible, and he had his lawyers in like the previous week and signed a new will and testament in the jailhouse meeting room there? Is it possible that he just went, I'm screwed, I'm offing myself? Yeah, but
I suppose
every single entity that is saying, we've done the study, we've investigated ourselves, he killed himself, none of them have any credibility with anybody right now. So even if this is what happened with Epstein, which I'll just politely say is highly suspect, then the people telling us that are people that we don't believe for anything right now.
Yeah, I would say that this is like playing poker with somebody you know who cheats, and he gets 4 or 5 straight royal flush hands in a row.
Because there's no conspiracies and no coincidences.
There are right. I mean, gosh, I remember back in the day when I thought conspiracies were silly. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like that meme now. It's like, what radicalized you? It's like, you did. You radicalized me. My goodness. I can't trust any of you guys.
See, the thing is that if everything were working the way that it should, and by the way, apparently some of these cameras, even according to this report, they hadn't been working for years.
Oh, gosh. Okay. All right.
And I'm like, okay, that sounds to me like we really don't want to be watched, as in we being the employees and the system do not want to be watched.
You know, if I were Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer, I would have, said, hey, is this stuff kosher? Is this working? Because I'm worried about my client. It's like, are there going to be? And here's the other thing: are there going to be no lawsuits post-mortem here? Because this is kind of it's a type of incompetence that it goes beyond simply oopsie, and you shrug your shoulders. This is kind of a how do you say this? Malfeasance, essentially.
Well, incompetence is the best case scenario right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best possible explanation, is gross and mass incompetence, both technologically and from a managerial and from an employee and from apparently a housekeeper. So all of these things at the same time.
Yes.
Those all stacking on top of each other. Massive incompetence and accidental and all of these coincidences all at the same time, leaving the guy alone, who then ends up at room temperature.
Yeah. I mean, basically there should be somebody to come out of the woodwork and say, you all suck. Now here's your penalty. I mean, there needs to be a penalty for sucking. Right?
And the thing is that, like I said, I mean, it is possible that Epstein did off himself. It's possible. I think the circumstances lead us a different direction. I'll politely say that. But in this case right here, none of this makes any sense whatsoever.
No.
And they say, well, why are you buying into these these conspiracy theories, and why is it that people are not believing us? Because you're offering explanations that don't pass the smell test.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing with me. Let's say Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
Sure.
Let's say that actually happened. Let's say all of these things are coincidental. They just happen to fall into place. I still want to know, where's the list of clients?
Exactly.
Like, why are we still in the dark about every single aspect of this thing?
Yep.
And when they release information, we just get more questions.
Yes.
Something else is going on. Something else is going on.
Well, I mean, and the thing is that it's basically obvious right there is that the last thing that anybody wanted was this guy cutting a deal by saying, okay, I'm going to name names who was on the plane. I'm going to name names who was at the island. I'm going to name names. Nobody wanted that at all. So when they come and say, boy, it was just a whole series of unfortunate events.
Gee whiz.
Gosh darn, we did the Lemony Snicket thing. And boy, we got to work on these things. Somebody call the IT guy to get those cameras going again. I mean, it just doesn't pass the smell test. And what's going to happen is people are going to be throwing their hands up in the air. It's like, oh, here you guys go again. Here's the official federal report. What's it going to take to convince you?
Come on, he put the door hanger out there that said, no housekeeping, I'm sleeping. So you don't need to check the room.
No,
do not disturb.
Yes.
Yeah, the housekeeper comes in and drops the extra linen. She's like,
That's right.
If you want a little extra fluff around the neck area here, I got something for you.
I'm not saying that this is what you should do. I'm just saying if you wanted to.
Here's some extra sheets.
Yeah.
And a peppermint.
Jeez. Oh man. And then of course, it's the federal the Justice Department's watchdog and Inspector General who oversaw this investigation. So like you said, Gabe, the federal government investigated itself and decided that, you know what, gosh darn it, we just got a few things wrong. And unfortunately, they were like they were layered 4 deep.
Yeah.
It's a fox watching the hen house.
Pretty much. Exactly. And there's a whole lot of people from Hollywood to Washington, D.C. who are going, ooh,
that was close.
Boy, But as far as the lawsuits, yeah, I mean, they can still sue his estate. You know, I mean, the thing is that the explanation of this guy was a multimillionaire. He was connected and realizing he was about to go to prison for the rest of his life. It's reasonable to think that somebody would do that to themselves.
Oh, sure.
But all of the circumstances around it make us say, what's the rest of the story? Because we're not believing what we're seeing. At least we know there's more to it.
Hello and welcome. From all of us at the Indoor Comfort Team, we want to help earn your trust and make your life, well, more comfortable. The Indoor Comfort Team has helped thousands of people deal with the common concerns of heating, cooling, hot water heaters. We've been doing this since 1979, and we're still only a call away. Whenever you need us, the Indoor Comfort Team. Comfort you can trust.
Call 314-894-8200 or visit indoorcomfortteam.com. Home is where the heart is, but it's also where the money is too. If you want to make the most of your home, whether you're buying, selling, or staying put, tune into HomeWise, the financial talk show that gives you the real deal on home ownership. HomeWise tells you the secrets that banks, realtors, and contractors don't want you to know, and shows you how to save thousands of dollars on your mortgage, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. HomeWise, how to get the most out of every dollar you put into your home. Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Attention! This is a public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation.
800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. That's 800-797-0711.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Ahead of the upcoming holiday weekend, it's already been a travel nightmare for thousands of airline passengers. Powerful storms resulting in numerous delays and many flight cancellations. FlightAware.com reports almost 900 delays so far today and 670 flight cancellations so far. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy floating the possible impeachment of Attorney General Garland over the Justice Department's handling of the Hunter Biden investigation.
An inquiry would be a precursor to the House potentially voting on specific articles of impeachment on Garland. On Sunday, McCarthy tweeted that he wants Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney David Weiss to answer the House Judiciary Committee's questions regarding accusations made by two former IRS agents turned whistleblowers about the U.S. Attorney's Hunter probe. The two whistleblowers worked on the Hunter investigation themselves. Echoing his Sunday tweet, McCarthy told Fox News Monday, quote, "If it comes true what the IRS whistleblower is saying, we're going to start impeachment inquiries on the Attorney General." Edwin Mora, Washington.
Daniel Penny facing arraignment today in the death of Jordan Neely on a New York City subway car. Penny says Neely, who Penny put in a headlock, had been threatening to kill fellow passengers. 24-year-old Penny says he acted in defense of himself and others. The White House unveiling a drive to promote what it is calling Bidenomics.
In Chicago this afternoon, the president will begin an effort to convince a worried public that the U.S. economy is thriving because of his policies. But there's a disconnect between what the White House touts as successes and how the public feels about the economy. In poll after poll, Americans cite the economy as the biggest problem facing the country.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures 23 points higher, NASDAQ futures down 53. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Take as little as 3 minutes to see if you could save on motorcycle insurance with Progressive. Come on, you've spent more time than that trying to name your bike.
How about the Crusher? I guess it's not really crushing anything. The Silver Bolt? No. Oh, what about Pepper? Mysterious. Is it a pet or a condiment? Surprise! It's a motorcycle. No, that's stupid.
Get a quote in as little as 3 minutes at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Pat Chambers with your first alert forecast. Canadian wildfire smoke in our area this morning, some of the thickest we've seen. Air quality unhealthy, and there is an impact on visibility. In addition to that, a few scattered showers, even a rumble of thunder possible this morning. Otherwise, more humid, an afternoon high of 91. Down to only 78 tonight, and heat advisories kick in tomorrow and Friday. Dangerous highs near 101 both days. Heat index 105 to 110 as the low storm chance continues. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
How's your health care? Insured but afraid to use it because of high copays and deductibles? You wait weeks for a few minutes with your doctor? It's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I struggle with the same issues as both patient and doc. You want to know that you're the focus, not the billing codes or faceless denial experts at insurance skyscrapers. which is why I've decided there's a better way. At Body of Health Direct Primary Care, you'll receive timely and time-rich appointments in person or virtually, whichever fits your needs and schedule, along with hundreds of free medications, transparent and truly affordable labs, and most importantly, a trusting relationship. We'll dig deep for solutions to problems and fill you with holistic coaching to minimize the need for high-powered medicine or specialty care. Now, if you need that, I'll work with specialists to streamline that journey too. And if it's prenatal care, hormonal, or sexual health that's bugging you, I'm board certified in women's health. Want a Body of Health? Get to know us at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare ya!
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, the Biden Supreme Court ruling on, the Supreme Court ruling on Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, I should say, could happen any day now. Literally could happen probably any hour now. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday, but they're still going to hand down that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, hand downs happen by the end of June, so we know that it's coming.
And this court likes to do it on Fridays, too.
Yes, yes, that's correct. And so here's the question I've got for you, conservatives and libertarians. We know that if the court rules against the Biden administration, that's going to push the government back into the right public policy and economic policy, or at least closer to it. So how do you sell that to a bunch of low information voters in their 20s and 30s who now suddenly have to start paying back their loans to the tune of $200, $300, $400, $500, $600 a month and are very angry about it and are going to blame the Republican and the conservative candidates on that?
Yeah, we're at the wrong end of the entitlement process, right? So what happens is that at first, you're going along life, and normal life is you pay back your own loans.
Sure.
And then the government says, you know what, let me help you with that. And now you expect it, and then you demand it, and now it belongs to you. So if somebody takes it back, which it was a gift in the first place, then now it's an assault against you.
Right. And so let's start there in about 30 seconds or so, because I don't think you should underestimate how much this can affect the upcoming elections, even a year down the road.
Oh, absolutely. And it speaks to some larger issues that I think Republicans are going to have to deal with in the coming years, especially as far down the pathway to bad government as we've gotten.
Absolutely. Okay, just ahead here, another state takes a step to decriminalize a vice. Another state is moving forward with decriminalizing prostitution to some degree. And we'll talk about that right around 7:20. 7:35, your Second Amendment rights in Illinois. We're talking to our friends on the Illinois side. Second Amendment rights are taken away from you right now by your state government. Aaron Dorr with the American Firearms Association going to give us an update on the fight to restore them and reclaim those. And then let me go ahead. Normally I don't tease something ahead this far, but next hour, there's a new movie coming out called Sound of Freedom.
Yes, I've been seeing some of these commercials.
Have you seen the trailer to this?
I've seen it play. I haven't listened to it. It's in my Twitter feed.
It looks intense. I mean, like gritty and intense.
I've seen the trailers and also 2 clips from the movie.
Oh, cool.
And the best description I can give, and you'll like this, Gabe, the cinematography is excellent. It looks a lot, believe it or not, a lot like Dark Knight, the Batman movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's got that Christopher Nolan feel to it, with a lot of dark brown.
Yeah, he likes to kind of cover over his movies with a certain sort of palette that makes everything a little more muted and
very somber feeling to it, and yet it's done very well. So I'm really interested in seeing the movie when it opens Tuesday.
And it's not going to be easy to watch,
No.
because this is based on a true story of rescuing children from sex traffickers, and we're talking international, like going into Colombia, the country.
This is real stuff.
And so one of the men who's the driving force behind getting this movie made is going to be with us.
That's awesome.
That's what, 8:05, I think it is.
Yes,
He's going to
it
be
is.
with us. Yeah. And so he's with Operation Underground Railroad, Operation Underground Railroad, which is an organization that's fighting child sex trafficking around the world. And so, I mean, they've enlisted Mira Sorvino's in this, Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ.
And he's also in The Chosen. Isn't he? Does Caviezel?
No, he's
No,
not in that
I'm
one.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
The producers are involved with it.
Yeah, it's Angel Studios.
That's
so
right,
yeah,
Angel
same
Studios.
studios that were involved in this. But yeah, so we're going to have Matt Osborne from Operation Underground Railroad, who is he's also a former CIA officer who was involved with this. So so we're going to talk to him in just about 1 hour. All
And
right.
listeners may not realize the U.S. is the #1 user in child sex trafficking, and Mexico is the #1 provider of the children.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of mythos out there about child sex trafficking because, you know, in the suburbs, we get worried that some guy is going to run up and grab your kid off a playground and throw him in a van. That's not how it works.
No.
That's literally not something you have to worry about. I mean, obviously, keep an eye on your kid all the time. That's not. I'm not saying don't be careless, but that's not how these things work.
Yeah.
And so this movie addresses that. You know, matter of fact. Just a quick story, then I want to get into this other policy stuff here. I remember my daughter when she was early grade school. So I think it was like 4th grade, fifth, something like that. And she's like, my friend wants to go to a tryout for the Disney shows. And I'm like, well, where's that? Thinking it was, here.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, no, we just got to go down to, I think it was like Texas or something like that. And she goes, her parents are willing to drive us down there, and I want to go, and they're looking for kids to be on their new shows. And I'm thinking, no, you're not going. And she was so mad. Amber was so mad at me.
Oh, of course.
At that time because I didn't let him go. And I don't think the other family actually ended up going to this. But now I keep reading about this years later, and I'm thinking,
that might have been one of those
how they
operations.
find the kids on this.
Yeah, I think that might have been one of those operations.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you separate the matter of fact in the story itself, in the movie. That's one of the ways that kids are caught is that the parents drop them off because a talent scout said, "Boy, your kid can sing. How about a tryout? Okay, come back at 7:00. We got we'll go through all these kids. Show back up at 7:00. Nobody's there.
Right.
And
Oh
so
my gosh.
I'm looking back now. I'm like, I wonder if that's what that was.
Yeah.
And one of her friends, or parents found out about it, like, oh boy, you could be a star. Amber can sing. Let's see if she wants to. I mean, and it kind of gives you chills.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Now
Oh
when
my
you think
gosh,
about that,
yeah.
I mean, maybe it truly was a legitimate tryout. I don't know, but I don't think that's how that works.
No, drive to Texas doesn't sound right.
No, or wherever it was. I don't know. It could have been Oklahoma. I don't know. But it wasn't in our backyard. Let's put it that way. And I would have been separated from my kids as a single parent. And I'm like, that's not a good idea.
How about no?
Okay, real quick here. The Supreme Court about to rule on the student loan forgiveness program. It looks like, and the Supreme Court could surprise us, they've ruled in favor of the Biden administration once or twice already.
They surprised me yesterday with their ruling on North Carolina for
The voting thing,
Oh,
yeah.
So-
We're going to have a conversation on that next week on the show.
Okay.
With some of the election observers, policy observers on that. Yeah, that went that went away. I think a lot of people didn't expect it to.
No, definitely not. I expected maybe 5-4, 6-3 ruling in favor of the state legislators. No, they decided in favor of the judicial system.
Right.
But, whoa, what's going on here?
So there could be a surprise with the student loan thing, but the Biden administration going, and this is what you alluded to a few minutes ago, Gabe, is they're basically going to voters, young voters who broke hard for the Democrats last time.
Yep.
Hey, why don't we just wipe out $20,000 worth of that debt? I mean, and if you've got $40,000, $50,000, you're like, boy, that would make a big difference. That would drop my payment from $600 down to $250. Or for some students, that might take care of all of it.
Eliminate their debt entirely, yeah.
Boy.
Or if you've got $100,000 because you went through med school.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's a big,
It's a big chunk.
big chunk that you can take out to it. And so there are a lot of people over the past 3 years who have gotten used to that not being in their budget. And so they have arranged their budget otherwise. They went and bought a car. They went and put something else on their credit cards. We talked to Howard Wall from the Hammond Institute about
That's
that
right.
last week.
Yeah, the economic
Yep.
evaluation of what people actually did with the extra cash they had in their cash flow, and it was not good.
No, they spent it, and they didn't pay down debt.
Right.
Now, early on, there were some cases where people took like the handout money from the federal government
Mm-hmm.
and they paid off like personal credit cards and things like that, which
Yeah.
was not what it was supposed to be for. It's
Yeah.
almost like big government giveaways don't have the intended consequences.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
That's weird.
So here's my question. I know we got to get to an information segment here in just a minute, but here's my question is, even though this is the right economic policy, there's going to be a lot of people really angry that suddenly they have a bill that they didn't have before, and they know that happened because Republicans pushed back against the Biden administration plan. If they would have just let well enough alone, I wouldn't have to do this, and that's a hard sell when a Republican says, vote for me because I'm for smaller government.
You know, the Republican platform is filled with good medicine, but can be hard to swallow for the public. And that's the problem. You know, the leftists are the guys in the white van with candy, right? So they've been enticing voters into their van for ages now, where they say, hey, here's a little money for your student loan stuff. Here's a little money for this. Here's a little money for that. Here's a little more quote unquote freedom that's going to alleviate you of responsibilities like rearing a child that you unintendedly created. You know, all of these things are basically just to garner favor with voters, to quote unquote maximize freedom in their view. And all it does is it creates these sort of ideological slaves. You know, even though the good thing, the right thing to do is to understand debt, to be able to pay off your obligations, to it basically we're the gym bros out here. We're saying it's good for you to hurt in the gym, to lift heavy, right, and get healthy, right, and then they're out there saying, "Hey, free donuts."
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty much what we're up against. So now what the government's got to, what the Republicans when they get into power are going to say is like, okay, we got to get back in the gym because the country's dying of economic diabetes right now.
Donuts.
Exactly.
See, you said donuts, and now that's what I'm thinking of.
Now that's all I can think about.
So if you're conservatives and somebody says, I'm struggling now because you added this student loan payment.
Yeah.
Well, no, you added it when you took out the loan.
Right.
But when it comes to picking, the next elected leaders, all the way from state representative up to president, this is going to be, it's easier for the left to spin bad policy, candy and donuts.
Yep.
Than it is for the right to spin good policy. It's good for you and the economy.
Eat clean and lift.
That's right. It's easier to sell the bad stuff to voters who generally are low information and vote on emotion anyway. So how do you spin this? If you're the Republicans, I think what you try to do is focus on anything but it.
Absolutely. I think that the GOP is going to have to focus more on the things that are empowering, the inspirational messages of you can do it, you can achieve, and here's how we're going to clear out all of the obstacles the government has put into your way to do this. Talk about those things, talk about opportunities, and we have to get away from the medicine. Essentially, we have to. I don't know. Spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
A few years later, say, listen, we shored up the student loan program because we got it back on track.
Yeah.
And you can try that then.
Yeah.
By the way, Susie Moore just messaged us on Rumble saying no hand downs today, Thursday and Friday.
Okay, there it is.
We'll hear it one way or the other this week. All right, just ahead, Missouri among the states legalizing drugs. Should Illinois and Missouri now follow the lead of Maine, of all states, who are now at least partially decriminalizing prostitution?
Here we go.
There's a libertarian argument that says everybody can do everything they want.
Yep.
There's the conservative argument that says no, that's naughty.
It's bad for society.
But there's a very specific reason they're doing this. We'll talk about that just ahead right here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You get the point with this? Like, they've done this before?
Bongino.
We had the IRS targeting case where they actually admitted to it. I love when lefties try to pretend that didn't happen. The targeting of the Tea Party and conservative groups.
Weekdays at 11 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, What makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Dr. Bob Onder.
On this whole transgender issue, Washington University has a PAC with $1 million in it to fund Republican rhinos who don't want to protect our kids or protect innocent human lives. It's all too common. So-called Republicans go to Jeff City and govern like Democrats.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary. But that's not the case when you go to Michael's Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michael's, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peters. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Fox News commentary.
A recent poll shows the majority of Americans don't support transgender athletes competing based on their identity over their biology. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Democrats just want to win the next election, and they're trying to do it with ceaseless money printing. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. It is critical to protect your retirement right now with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get a free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. There's nothing to buy and no obligation at all. Text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get a free info kit on gold.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
Never thought we'd be having 50 years after the passage of Title IX. Should men be allowed to compete in women's sports? Turns out not only does 69% of Americans polled in a recent Gallup survey say transgender athletes should only be allowed to compete on sports teams that conform with their birth gender, but that percentage has gone up since 2021 by 7 points. Here's where it gets even more interesting. 67% of independent voters believe athletes should compete in categories that match their biology, not their identity. That's significant, and it's a testament to common sense, logic, and true fairness. Women's sports should not be a retirement plan for failed male athletes. Women have fought too hard for too long to give up our ground to the latest social experiment. So that's why I say keep women's sports and spaces for women. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
News, analysis,
I'm glad you're talking about this.
opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
Hello, morning people. Tony Colombo and Katie Fitzpatrick here.
Thanks for listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL. And don't forget to join us today at 2 for Colombo and Katie.
See you then. Love you, Mike. Love you, Stell. Love you, Gabe. Love you, Stell.
I said Stell twice.
I like Stell.
Thanks, Tony.
Another vice is partially decriminalized in one state. Should Illinois and Missouri follow suit in decriminalizing prostitution? 314-912-1019. All right, still ahead here. The fight to restore Second Amendment rights in Illinois continues. Update for you at 7:35. At 8:05, there is this new movie coming out, Sound of Freedom. It hits theaters on the 4th of July. And it is from what we're being told, a very well-produced movie, not going to be easy to watch. Yes, it's an action movie. Yes, it's good guys going in to try to save the victims, but it's based on things that have happened and are happening in real life. And we're going to talk to one of the men who made that movie happen because it's about combating child sex trafficking. We'll talk about that around 8:05. All right, 7:23 right now. The state of Maine. Gabe, I'm going to start with you on this.
Yep.
Governor Janet Mills on Monday signed into law a bill that partially decriminalizes prostitution, but it's not just a matter of it's legal now. That's not what the bill does. Okay, so it eliminates the crime of engaging in prostitution. So basically, somebody who's being sold or selling themselves is not subject to criminal penalty anymore, but it elevates the crime of soliciting a child for sexual exploitation. And so basically it lifts that. For some reason that was a misdemeanor before, and now it's a felony.
Why would it only be a misdemeanor?
Right. I don't know. So they fixed that.
Okay.
But they fixed that.
That's positive.
And so basically what they're doing is saying that when it comes to child sex trafficking, if we legalize adult prostitution, you're going to separate out the adult vice from the coercion aspect of it. So it's illegal to pimp. It's illegal to sell another person. It's illegal to do all that. But it's now legal for somebody to do it on their own. And so the idea is, if you're an adult, so the idea is that sunlight is the best disinfectant. And so you can target the trafficking. I mean, it's targeting trafficking of kids, but the idea is you're trying to eliminate the trafficking of adults, which still happens too.
Yeah.
So they're trying to say, let's bring it above board. That way we can separate out what's being coerced and what's voluntary.
Now, my question is, how does decriminalization, as opposed to, legalization, which, that imposes rules, which is different than decriminalization. Right. How does decriminalization bring it above board in such a way that you can make those distinctions?
Well, I think it's about the threats of the punishment. So basically let's say the working girls, if they're adults, they don't have to worry about getting charged.
Okay.
At all. So they can ply their trade if they want without worrying. But those who are, if the police or law enforcement, just like before, if they can find it and prove that they're the ones who were selling somebody else and coercing them, now the penalties are much, much harsher, and that's still illegal.
Yeah, except that, as I understand it, and I've only kind of dipped my toe into how these type of operations work, picking up the girls is one of the ways in which they find out that they have been trafficked.
Yeah.
So the thing is, it's like, how do you make the distinction? Because it's not as though the pimp is out there, with a sign saying, choose one of my girls. You just have the girls out there. So it doesn't sound like it's going to accomplish what they want it to me.
Remains to be seen. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it would be different, I think, if they went like Nevada's route and they said, okay, now you need licensure, you need contracts, get contract law involved. So someone who is decisively making the decisions, I'm going to sell my body. Well, okay, now you have to sign a paper and you have to get, waivers and whatever and licensure and stuff like that to make it official. If you're just out there on the street, we can't tell if you've been put there or if you put yourself there.
And a lot of people, because people bring up Nevada as well, people forget that outside of those legal brothels, it's still illegal.
It's still illegal. Yeah, that's true.
Now, I can tell you it absolutely happens. I haven't been to Las Vegas since 2008, I think. I was there for work, and I was approached by multiple women who were clearly trying to sell themselves. Maybe one of them was over 18.
Oh my gosh.
But the others looked like they were young teenagers. And they just walk up and it's like, hey, they'll start up a conversation. Hey, do you know what time it is? Sure, it's 5:30, whatever. Okay, hey, what are you doing tonight? And then, hey, here's, and
you want a party.
And so that's how they operate it. So they were still plying the illegal trade, but nobody was watching for it there.
Sure.
I know it made for a good episode of Cops once for them to do a Vice in Las Vegas on that, but they're really not watching for it.
No, not at all.
And just for the record, in case anybody wondered, no, I dismissed everybody who walked up to me on that. Just so we're clear as to what happened.
Set the record straight here.
There's a libertarian, small L libertarian argument that says adults should be allowed to engage in whatever they want consensually.
Yes.
And I buy into that.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to degrade yourself, that's your business.
Right.
But if there's coercion involved, that's the rub on this. And how do you do this without bringing it up to that Nevada model? I don't know, other than they're simply trying to make it safer for those who are want to break out from the traffickers to try to do so. So I think this is an area where they're trying to move it in the right direction. But one of the consequences of that is that you legalize a vice that is not good for anybody.
Right. Yeah. I think this is going to have the negative effect. I actually do think that it's going to increase trafficking in that area.
Now, how do you think that'll happen? I'm not saying you're wrong. I hadn't thought about it. I don't know.
Well, like I said, part of the way they find out that the girls have been trafficked is that they pick up the girls on the soliciting charge. So then you actually get them in a room. You get to talk to them. It's like, okay, well, when was the last time you've had a meal? You know what I mean? Like there's no way to discern whether the girl is there by her own free will or she's been put there by somebody else unless you actually talk to them. And the only reason for law enforcement to talk to them is picking them up on the charge. Yeah. So what's going to happen is you're going to have girls who are out there and they're plying their trade. Is like there's less chance now of the guy who's doing this to get caught for trafficking because his girls are free to do what they want.
Now, when it comes to, because all of this is driven by the buyers, this is all driven by men willing to pay money for this.
Yes.
Yes, I know there are women involved in trafficking and who are madams and all that kind of stuff, but men buying it is the reason that this exists.
Oh, it's definitely the what do you call it? The
supply and demand.
The demand side that's driving this.
Yeah. And so, can you target the demand side without criminalizing the supply side? I mean, and the underage, you obviously want to criminalize that, to the nth degree. But, there would not be women degrading themselves on things like OnlyFans and on the streets or in brothels or in strip clubs
if there wasn't a market
were
for
not men who were willing to spend a lot of money to buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and now the only way to really target the demand side, besides basically undercover operations where you find you entrap the Johns essentially,
right,
is to change society so that men don't want to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean it's basically you have to create a morally based society where men feel the stigma and they understand the eternal consequences of their actions and seek legitimate means by which to get their needs met. So that was
very delicately put.
Wasn't that very delicate? Yeah. I was treading the line right there.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the point of I guess the puritanical aspect of conservatism is like, you know what, if we fix society we wouldn't have problems like this. But of course fixing society isn't something you can legislate.
Correct.
And one of the odd things about society that last week we had talked about the oldest average age in the country had gone up to 39.
Well,
the
mean.
Yeah. Oh, the mean age.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me like you had mentioned, Mike, that Maine had the oldest median age.
Yeah.
So I thought,
yes, no family formation.
Yep.
Right. So no healthy marriages. Where actually all the studies show that the healthiest sex lives are, people who've been married, conservatives who have been married for long periods of time. Religious conservatives who are married young have the best sex lives in America, according to studies. I'm just saying.
I've got all sorts of things I could say in response. I just don't want to get myself in trouble.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying the biblical model works.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, Maine's having trouble right now, and they're dealing with the consequences of getting away from it.
But I do appreciate them, even though this is a Democratic-led thing, I appreciate them trying something and targeting the traffickers and saying, let's try to decriminalize the victims.
I definitely like the intent.
So I like the mindset on that.
I like the intent. I don't think it'll work, though.
Just ahead here, Illinois. It's not working, going after your Second Amendment rights, which is what Illinois is doing.
Stop it.
American Firearms Association involved in the pushback trying to reclaim your Second Amendment rights on the Illinois side. Is it going to work? Also, the Biden administration's pistol brace ban, they're fighting against that too. Aaron Dorr from AFA's got the update for us right around 7:35.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Every time that I look in the mirror, all these lines in my face getting clearer. The past is gone.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Matt Chambers with your first alert forecast. Canadian wildfire smoke in our area this morning, some of the thickest we've seen. Air quality unhealthy, and there is an impact on visibility. In addition to that, a few scattered showers, even a rumble of thunder possible this morning. Otherwise, more humid, an afternoon high at 91. Down to only 78 tonight, and heat advisories kick in tomorrow and Friday. Dangerous highs near 101 both days. Heat index 105 to 110 as the low storm chance continues. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
The 4th of July is an important holiday for all Americans. Hi, this is Joe Cordell of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. For some husbands, however, in troubled marriages, holidays are marked more by hardship than harmony. If you're such a guy and considering divorce, know all your options, including alternatives to divorce. We advise, we advocate, and when necessary, we litigate.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood Parkway, Suite 310, Town & Country, Missouri, 63017. CordellCordell.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunder Stealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Joe Pags. Catch me tonight at 7 o'clock. But right now, back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Hey, was this in the plan for the bump music?
Not until you mentioned something a couple minutes ago about this album coming out.
This momentous day in history. 35 years ago today.
35 years.
35 years ago today. In God We Trust by Stryper was released. And I went to the music store in the mall in Quincy and bought my cassette.
Oh, man.
Were you in line at midnight?
No. No.
They weren't doing that.
It was a school night, as I recall.
That shouldn't have stopped you.
No. So this song was on MTV.
Yeah.
Which, I thought I was sneaking around, didn't think my parents knew I was watching MTV.
They knew.
But they knew. They totally knew.
The parents always
They
know.
always knew. And so this song was, I went and bought the cassette. I think they were like $8.99 back then.
Oh, wow.
And
my God. You're taking me back, man.
About wore out this hair metal, glam metal cassette by Stryper.
Oh, man.
All right, 7:37 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson, fighting to restore Second Amendment rights in Illinois and pushing back against another stupid Biden administration rule. We're going to get to that in about 30 seconds. Also, beer and sports. Are they getting the message from the marketplace that is telling companies to stay out of the culture war? Dummies. They're starting to get the message.
Okay,
Maybe.
I hope so.
Yeah, and this actually could affect or will affect, is affecting, including the Cardinals and the Blues. We'll get to that in just a few minutes here as well. All right, update on what's happening in Illinois. Of course, the state legislature and then Governor Pritzker signed into law a gun ban. I mean, that's the only way to say it. Not only a gun ban, but to me, the most insidious part of it is the registration that they're demanding. You've already got a gun. You bought it legally. Don't care. Sign up, put it on this list, or else. Well, we know where that leads historically. So multiple lawsuits pushing back against that. Now we're joined by Aaron Dorr from the American Firearms Association. And Aaron, thanks for being on the show. All right, so we've got the lawsuit filing. We've had a round of rulings on this. Where are we now in the appellate process? Let's start there.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Thanks a lot for the time. So tomorrow in Chicago, we'll be on hand for oral arguments in circuit court. This case is now being bumped up above federal district court. And tomorrow we're going to have oral arguments in circuit court in downtown Chicago.
Good morning, Aaron. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So we're talking about this quote unquote assault weapons ban. Remind us what this thing does.
Yeah, basically this bill would make it a felony crime to sell a AR-15 or approximately 100 similar design firearms. And so, as always, they contain a grandfather clause. And that's always the carrot they use to bait gun owners into not taking action against the proposed law because your guns are excluded from this. At least that's the theory. But what's interesting to note is that in Connecticut, this whole last session in 2023, the governor was pushing bills to round up all grandfathered firearms. And so this idea that we're protected for our generation is a complete con designed to mute the gun owners' opposition.
Yeah, and okay, let me take what you just said right there because I'm glad you brought that up, Aaron, because part of the Illinois law, as I understand it, is that you have to basically register even something that's grandfathered. You've got to report it to the government, and now you're saying that history is telling us that in another state there is now a government that says we're going to go round them up because we wanted to outlaw them. Wasn't that what registrations are for?
Exactly. They have 81,000 and some change number of gun owners in Connecticut who have registered their so-called assault weapons. And so if this happens now in Illinois, and if it's not shot down, you're going to have hundreds of thousands of gun owners who have these firearms in Illinois will be added to the governor's database. The first time one of those firearms is used in a crime, whether it's stolen from somebody or used against the gun owner's consent or wishes, that's going to be their grounds to come back in there and say, yep, now we got to round all those firearms up.
Another issue I'm seeing kind of bubble up here in this space here is about the Biden administration's pistol brace ban rule coming out of the ATF. Now, explain to us what the pistol brace is first of all as an accessory, and then how the ATF can just make up rules to create criminals.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, a pistol brace mounts on the end of an AR-15 pistol, and it makes this pistol more controllable for somebody who is of smaller stature or disabled or things of that nature. It's designed to make the firearm more controllable. Everybody, Democrat, left, tyrannist, pig, or freedom-loving American should love the idea of a more controllable firearm, right?
Yeah.
So the Biden administration bypassed Congress, and they, on their own initiative, executive orders, have outlawed the possession of these pistol braces. The ATF has now added them to the National Firearms Act. They now have to be registered with the federal government if you want to possess those. Incidentally, tomorrow when I'm in Chicago, others from our team will be in New Orleans as we have circuit court tomorrow in New Orleans on the government's pistol brace ban.
And is the argument going to be it's unconstitutional, anti-Second Amendment, or is it going to be that it's administrative as opposed to Congress passing a law?
Yeah, it's kind of all the above. The courts have already begun to strike down the bump stock ban. This is almost the exact same argument. The bump stock was legal, as is the pistol brace. It was reaffirmed as legal by the ATF, as was the pistol brace. Then the president, in the previous case, it was President Trump with a bump stock, and now President Biden with pistol braces, circumvented the Congress and made these items illegal automatically. That is the issue. This is not constitutional. The bump stock ban is coming down. We see it happening in the near future. Hopefully the same thing happens here with the pistol brace. It's almost the exact same issue.
I imagine all this legal action is costing a whole lot of money, and I imagine you're kind of at a fundraising deficit right now. Tell us how we can help with that.
Yeah, summertime is always a slump for nonprofit organizations like ours. People are enjoying their families and their Little League games and their vacations. We realize that, but you're right. We have got to fight in court as we fight in Congress, or else we're going to see these rights taken away one leftist governor at a time. So definitely go to joinafa.org to get involved in the fight. Our full website is AmericanFirearmsAssociation.org.
Yeah, we're visiting with Aaron Dorr from the American Firearms Association. Aaron, I just kind of marvel at the politics of all this. The Supreme Court, the current version of the Supreme Court, has made it very clear how they view the Second Amendment. And it's amazing to me that they've issued clear rulings in past cases, and states continue to come back and basically fly right in the face of those rulings, probably knowing that eventually those things are going to get struck down. What explains this?
Well, again, these people are they're absolute tyrants. They believe in absolute tyranny. They want to disarm law-abiding citizens. They hate the fact that we have the right to keep and bear arms. So they don't care what a judge says or what any other authority above them says. If they can get away with it, they're going to go for it. The good news, as you said, is that we're about, 52 weeks away, almost exactly 1 year away from last year's Bruin decision. And last year's Bruin decision did absolutely change the legal analysis as to what gun control laws are constitutional and which ones are not. I believe, without a doubt, that the Illinois assault weapons ban, so-called, as well as the one in Washington State, these are going to wind up before SCOTUS. No one knows when. No one can predict an outcome. But Bruin made it very clear the government has to show the historical precedent for their gun control laws to remain constitutional. There is no precedent when it comes to banning wildly popular semi-automatic rifles in society. So we believe this will be overturned in the Supreme Court, but that could be multiple years from now.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is we know the end of the current term is heading up here in the next couple of days, so it could be a year or 2 years. And in the meantime, we've got a lot of people who are just being denied their right to self-defense and their Second Amendment rights.
It's true. I guess what I would say is that in the wake of every major Supreme Court decision, whether it was Heller in 2008 or McDonald in 2010 or Bruin, it takes time for lower courts, circuit courts, district court judges to properly interpret and apply their new precedent. And something as big as Bruin is going to take time to be properly applied across the various states. And so what you're seeing right now is some circuits are upholding the pistol brace ban. Some are opposing it. Some states are going to be upholding the bump stock ban. Some circuits will, that is, and some states will oppose it. And actually, that's a good thing. What we need to have is circuit courts that are opposed to each other to elevate these matters to the Supreme Court. It's not going to happen quickly. It's no fun as we go through this process, but it does take time for lower courts to properly interpret and apply major Supreme Court precedent, and we're seeing that happen right now.
All right. Any other potential tactics on the left we need to be on the watch for? I mean, you've mentioned, bump stocks in the previous years, the pistol brace now at this time. Obviously we've had the argument over so-called assault weapons and at this point gun registries. What are the other tactics that the left could look for loopholes to ban something or anything? Is it other accessories? Is it creative interpretations of laws? What is it? Because we know they're going to come back. So what's next, I guess, is the question we should probably be asking already.
Yeah, I think right now the biggest threat we have to keep an eye on, and besides the ones you've already mentioned, is H.R. 715 in Congress. This is Biden's National Gun Registry. And what makes this so dangerous is it was not sponsored by a Democrat. This was filed by Kevin McCarthy's best friend, Brian Fitzpatrick, Republican, rhino backstabber from Pennsylvania, and that makes it far easier for the bill to get put on the House floor for a vote. Now, will that happen in the current dynamic? I don't believe so. But it's got 204 co-sponsors, and if we, God forbid, have a mass shooting somewhere in America as we approach summer break in Congress, when they come back in a session, if there's a national outcry, similar to what we had after Uvalde, Texas, and things of that nature, you could see Rhino Kevin McCarthy put Rhino Fitzpatrick's gun control bill on the House floor. They already have 204 co-sponsors. Brian makes 205. They need 218 to pass the bill in the Congress. This is a very real threat. And so we've got to keep pressure on vulnerable Democrats, but also on rhino Republicans.
Speaking of mass shootings, wasn't there one averted recently? Where was that? In Texas or something like that? An attempted mass shooter entered a mall, I think it was, and somebody with a concealed carry.
In Indiana.
Indiana, that's where it was. And somebody took care of the issues. A good guy with a gun, right?
Yeah, these happen almost every day. The media, of course, never wants to cover these stories. They almost never do. But you're right. Whether the firearm is actually used or just displayed, law-abiding gun owners with their personal firearms stop crimes every single day.
Hey, Aaron, this is Stal Ponticus. A quick question for you. There was a raid on a gun store in Montana recently, about a week or two ago. Any comments from you regarding what happened there?
Yeah, that was the IRS raid, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think we're seeing, and I'm not aware of all the details of that particular case, but I know that in general, what we are witnessing now is the complete weaponization of law enforcement, whether it's law enforcement or associated agencies or bureaucrats using the power of the state to go after all political opponents. And the irony here could not be more extreme. You have law-abiding gun owners, in this case gun dealers, who perhaps made paperwork or process errors in the full, raid from armed law enforcement. And you have Hunter Biden, who admitted to felony gun crimes, who gets a pretrial diversionary program to avoid all time in jail. The hypocrisy and double standard here is it's no longer being hidden. We're in a different era now as American citizens.
Yeah, well, I'll kind of paraphrase hee-haw. If they left didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all.
Mm-hmm.
Go that way
Yeah,
direction.
exactly.
All right. Hey, let's give out that website one more time, Aaron.
Yeah, you bet. It's AmericanFirearmsAssociation.org, or simpler version would be joinafa.org.
All right. Hey, good to talk to you again. Thanks a lot for the updates, Aaron.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, 314-912-1019. I guess, if Representative Fitzpatrick, he's got a lot of work to do because Adam Kinzinger isn't in Congress anymore, so he's got to make up for the lack of that sort of part of the body.
Rhino representation, man.
Yeah,
Rhino
exactly.
representation.
All right, just had is corporate America starting to get the message from the market on the entire woke advertising thing?
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
But the beatings will continue until Morella.
Yeah. I will tell you why I'm saying maybe right around 7:51 on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Are you tired of hard chlorinated water drying your skin out, tasting bad, and ruining your fixtures? Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to this pollution. Our Hydratech H2O leaves you with great tasting soft water at all fixtures in your home with one unit. Call Jones Air and Water at 636-899-1040 or visit us on the web at joneswater.com. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Jones Air and Water, 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Gabe,
Yes,
say
sir.
what you just said in that information segment a minute ago while we were talking off air.
Yeah, I think it needs to be said, and I think everybody needs to realize that the Democrats, the left, they're trying to bleed these 2A advocacy organizations dry with constant attacks, constant assaults, these laws that keep coming out, obviously against the court.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to fight in court, and the reason they want to fight is because it drains the coffers of these organizations.
Right, and like Aaron was saying, he says in the long run, it's a good thing that you have to go through and even have setbacks because it goes to the Supreme Court where they set a clear precedent.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, in that last decision, that Bruin decision last year that he was referencing, very clear, very explicit.
Yeah.
Second Amendment means what it says. Within 6 months, the New York legislature, the state assembly out there, had passed an almost identical gun control bill that had just been struck down one of their laws struck down, and then they were putting in things like you have to show us 3 years of social media. It's
They made
just
it worse.
stupid. They made it worse.
Yeah.
Because they know they can delay it, and they can deny your rights for a little while. But I think you're right. If they keep coming at it, because the American Firearms Association, Gun Owners of America, Jews for the Preservation of Gun Rights, I think is what it's called, the NRA, all of these groups, they are constantly saying, listen, we've got litigation. This costs money. We need your help. And that what they're hoping is that people will say, I just gave you money for this.
Right.
Well, because they're continuing the assault on your Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's happening.
You need to give to one of these organizations. If you care at all about protecting 2A, you actually need to do that.
Yeah, and AFA is one of the really good ones.
One of the really good
Gun
ones,
Owners of
absolutely.
America does a very effective work as well. So I thought that was just a really good point. It's like, wait a minute, didn't we fight this already?
Yes.
Didn't we win this already?
Yes.
So we got to do it again. And one of the reasons that I called Aaron when I want comment on things like this is because he doesn't hold back. This is tyrannical. This is the sort of thing that is a long game by the left when it comes to eliminating individual freedoms.
They're hoping to wear us down.
All right, who do we got here? We got Mike talking about.
Yeah,
the
we're switching
second-
gears here a little bit.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Yeah.
What are we?
Well, Mike's got a baseball question for you.
Oh, okay. All right. Mike, hit me. What you got?
Are you ready, Mike?
Probably not, but I'll try.
No. You might know this. I don't know. It just happened the other day. LSU beat Florida in the College World Series.
Right. Yeah.
They won 18-4.
Mm-hmm.
Only this has happened one time. They did something that happened one time, and only in the major leagues. Scored 18 runs in one game, but they did something that it hasn't happened, and it happened to the Cardinals in 1944. They scored 18 runs against Cincinnati, and they left 18 runners on base.
Oh, geez.
Wow, really?
Yes, sir.
Man,
it's a little interesting.
Very
tidbit
interesting.
There. Yeah.
That's
a lot of.
That's a lot of left on base.
Yeah.
A lot of left on base. Yeah. I don't know how many pitchers that Florida brought in, but they had to bring in a ton. So
apparently,
they may have gotten down to their catcher.
Put him on the mound.
You got the bat boy pitching at that point. At one point,
talking about being bled dry, right?
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, you guys have a good show. Thank you very much for taking the call, and be well.
You got it, Mike. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Occasionally, we need a diversion from the constant tyrannical attempts by government.
Yeah, I saw the score on that. I didn't actually see the game because I love college baseball, except for one thing is that they don't, well, two things now, really. They don't play the game the way that God himself intended when he himself invented baseball. You know what I'm talking about, Stell, right?
Yeah.
Bats, I'm presuming.
Metal bats.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Few things sound worse to me than the ping of a metal bat.
I agree.
It's the crack of the wood bat.
There you go.
And now in college, they've all got literally like these little computers on their arms and earphones, and the managers are like calling in the pitches. And the batters are looking at their wristband computer thing. And I'm like, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Teach these guys how to play baseball.
Everybody knows that when God created trees, he intended them to be turned into baseball bats.
Thank you. He absolutely did. That's why they exist in the first place. Okay, just ahead here. New movie coming out on Tuesday, July 4th. Sound of Freedom. And this is based on true events that resulted in many, many children being rescued from sex trafficking in an international ring. Well, one of the men behind that movie, who made that movie happen, and this is the same studio that did The Chosen, he's going to be with us. Matt Osborne from Operation Underground Rescue is going to be with us at 8:04. Man, this movie looks really gritty, really good, really well done, but there's a bigger purpose for it, and let's talk about it.
News, analysis, opinion.
Confirmation that COVID-19 likely escaped from the Wuhan lab.
Anthony Fauci orchestrated an elaborate cover-up.
This is News Talk STL.
More than $17 million came to Hunter Biden and his associates.
I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever.
As I've said before, no one is above the law, including Donald Trump.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL and newstalkstl.com.
Hot enough for you? Tired of hearing that question?
It's certainly hot enough to damage your lawn and plants. Allen Outdoor Solutions can put in an irrigation system, save your landscaping, and save you from having to drag hoses in this heat. I've known Steve Allen for years. That's why I put my name with Allen Outdoor Solutions. Call 314-647-4800. 647-4800. Check the website, see everything Steve can do for you. AllenOutdoorSTL.com.
Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
As they say in the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. And ladies and gentlemen, we're pretty close to that here in the United States of America right now.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
It's okay to be on the winning or losing side of an election as long as you're on the side of the power elite. But if you rock the boat, if you thumb your nose at the establishment, you have the full weight of the police state come down on you.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
I call it coup by subpoena.
Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
Have you heard? Missouri One call system is now Missouri 811. New name, but the same mission of protecting essential underground facilities and excavators. Do your part by requesting a locate online at Missouri-811.org or by calling 811 3 working days before digging. It's a simple process that saves lives and prevents service interruptions. It's simple, free, and it's the law. This ad is brought to you by Missouri 811.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. President Biden is launching a new effort to defend his record on the economy, and that could be a tough sell for the American people.
The president will use a speech in Chicago to kickstart a new messaging campaign about what he sees as economic successes. The White House calls it Bidenomics. Spokeswoman Olivia Dalton.
When we go out and we talk to people about it, they support Bidenomics. And so that's exactly what the president is going to be doing.
But with inflation still stubbornly high, the president continues to receive low marks from the public for his handling of the economy. Greg Clugston, Washington.
New Hampshire got plenty of attention yesterday from the Republican presidential candidates, former President Trump among them.
Our country is a failing nation. We are a failing nation. We're a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections again by using law enforcement this time. The other's going to be harder to do. So they want to use corrupt law enforcement.
The other leading contender for the nomination, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, also on the stump in New Hampshire yesterday, along with several other of the Republican candidates. At least 10 people have been killed in a Russian missile strike. Hit a busy restaurant in eastern Ukraine.
As well as the deaths. Well over 50 people were wounded in the attack in Kramatorsk on Tuesday evening. The Russian missile struck a local eatery frequented by journalists, aid workers and soldiers who use the city as a base for operations. The city lies only a few miles from the front line. At least 3 children are among the dead. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Smoke pouring off of those Canadian wildfires, polluting the air across the central and eastern U.S., as well as throughout the Great Lakes region. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures down 33 points. NASDAQ futures off 71. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Factor pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic. Must be a tech thing.
But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Matt Chambers with your first alert forecast. Canadian wildfire smoke in our area this morning, some of the thickest we've seen. Air quality unhealthy, and there is an impact on visibility. In addition to that, a few scattered showers, even a rumble of thunder possible this morning. Otherwise, more humid, an afternoon high of 91. Down to only 78 tonight, and heat advisories kick in tomorrow and Friday. Dangerous highs near 101 both days. Heat index 105 to 110 as the low storm chance continues. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
The flow of information.
This week on News Talk STL.
Take a look at what's going on.
To get to the bottom.
News, analysis, opinion.
More than $17 million came to Hunter Biden and his associates.
These individuals that are sending him money have ties to Chinese intelligence.
There's never been anything like it. A witch hunt like this has never taken place.
1019 and 94.1.
What happens next?
And we remain strongly committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal.
News Talk STL. This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Don't be afraid. Sometimes you just have to say, it's time to upgrade my home. It's time to invest in my home. But you can save money up front and you can save money on the back end as well. Mike Ferguson for my friends at Window World here. They are simply the best for less. 314-993-1800. And I know a lot of times people say, oh man, I don't want to have to replace all my windows. It's expensive, but these windows aren't doing the job anymore. Well, that's costing you money every month in your utilities. But here's the thing. Window World, less expensive than other windows, and they're double strength glass, and they're also more efficient than your typical windows. So in addition to saving money upfront, because these are the best for less, you also are going to be saving money in your home when it comes to keeping your air conditioning in and your furnace in the right seasons and not losing that money going right out the window. Walk around your house right now, and if you put your hand up and you can either feel the cold air coming in during the winter, if that happened, or around your doorway, because Window World can make custom screen doors as well, or during the summertime when it's getting real hot this week. It's going to be in the upper 90s this week. If you can feel that either heat coming in or you can stand outside and feel your air conditioning going out, then you are losing money. Learn more at windowworld.com, but give them a call. That's the best thing. 314-993-1800. These windows are custom cut for your home, still likely to be much less expensive, and they've got 18 months same as cash financing with approved credit. These windows also include a lifetime warranty, so you don't have to worry about spending money even years down the road to replace them like you would one of the windows you're going to pay more for anyway. So pay less, get a lifetime warranty, and protect your home. Get that free in-home estimate by calling him at 314-993-1800. Find out why Window World is the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. Once again, 314-993-1800.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm the world's heavyweight wrestling champion.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up.
I want to be clear, I'm not going nuts.
No.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Coming up on the 4th of July, Independence Day, where we celebrate the founding of our country and we celebrate the freedoms that we enjoy, but sometimes we forget that not just around the world, but right in our backyard, there are people who are still enslaved, but we use terms like human trafficking. We use terms like sex trafficking, but it all means the same thing. People are taken from their freedom, taken from their families, and they are trafficked brutally around the United States and around the world. And there's a movie coming out on Tuesday, 4th of July, Sound of Freedom, starring Jim Caviezel. You would know him better as the actor who played Jesus Christ in The Passion of the Christ. He's been in so many other movies. The guy is such a great actor. And this is a story based on true events. I mean, these are based on things that happened. In this particular case, you're looking at international trafficking, but don't forget, it is all linked around the world. So just because a setting, a part of a movie is in South America doesn't mean it doesn't affect us right here. Mike Ferguson here, got Gabe Pfeiffer, got Stel Ponticus here, joined now by Matt Osborne. He's now the president of the Operation Underground Rescue organization. Our Rescue is how you find him. We'll put the website out there. But Matt, you're also a former CIA officer. You're one of the driving forces to get this movie made. The fact that it's a gritty, intense movie is one thing we'll talk about here in a second, but the fact that it's based on things that actually happened, especially with your colleagues, is just really sobering, because I don't think, Matt, we truly understand the scope of the trafficking scourge that affects us around the world.
Well, good morning, Mike and team. Thank you so much for giving this platform. We wish this didn't exist, right? We wish we could be ostriches and put our head in the sand. This is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. It's eclipsed the illegal arms trade. Soon it will eclipse the drug trade. More slaves today than at any time in human history. And Sound of Freedom, opening on Tuesday, will tell the story about Operation Underground Railroad, the formation of our group. We go undercover around the world to support law enforcement in rescuing children, getting them back to their parents or into aftercare homes. In the U.S., we support behind the scenes. This happens everywhere. In Texas, where I live, in St. Louis, on either coast. And why St. Louis? Why Dallas? Well, nothing bad about it. You've got highways going through, centrally located, a river, an airport. These men, women, and children are being exploited because of the demand for commercial sex. We think this movie will be the start to putting an end to this.
Good morning, Matt. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So it sounds as though a lot of this is all privately done. What are the countries doing about these issues?
Gabe, you make a great point. So even the United States of America, that is in the forefront in fighting this, certainly through the U.S. Department of Homeland Security investigations, but they lack funding, tools, training, resources. And that was what our founder, Tim Ballard, saw when he was 12 years with Homeland Security. He said, maybe I can do more forming a private organization that then supports governments. So that's what we do around the world, helping behind the scenes. But overseas, we use the American face to go undercover, and that's what viewers will see when they go to the movies with Sound of Freedom, to see Jim Caviezel playing Tim Ballard, how he decided to give up his government pension, his health care, Uncle Sam's stable salary, to take a risk on a nonprofit where we hope donations will come in. But that's what we've done. And in over just almost 10 years of existence, we've helped rescue just over 7,000 victims worldwide, and we've supported the arrest of some 6,800 suspected predators.
Hey, good morning, Matt. This is Stel Ponticus. Talk to us a little bit about the numbers. I know this is painful to think about, but from what I understand from news reports that you've shared, the U.S. is the number one consumer. Is that true of child sex trafficking, and Mexico is the number one provider?
Yeah, great question. On the front end, we are the number one consumers and producers of child sex abuse material, what we used to call child pornography, and the number one supplier of these child sex tours, people traveling overseas. Mexico has a problem, but really so does every other country have a problem because of the demand. And what we're trying to do, too, is engage good men. And that's why I love your show. And you're talking about how we can make our country better. We need men to realize that these are victims and not volunteers. This is trafficking, not prostitution. And you ask about the numbers. The International Labor Organization says 40.3 million men, women, and children are in slavery around the world. I can't tell you if that number is accurate, but I can tell you that over 20 times with Operation Underground Railroad, I've gone undercover in countries around the world. Within minutes, I'm talking to someone who has contacts to a trafficker, and within an hour, I'm sitting across the table from someone bartering the life and the freedom of a child or a woman as if they're talking about a sack of potatoes, a bag of limes. It costs this much, it weighs this much, it does this much. Truly disgusting and truly horrifying.
So why the movie, Matt? What's the role of a film in the fight against trafficking? Because my understanding is that this is not going to be something that's easy to watch. And on a holiday, it comes in the theaters on July 4th. Why is it important to get eyeballs in front of a movie like this, or get the movie like this in front of eyeballs?
Well, thank you. In Sound of Freedom, it's tastefully done. It's PG-13. Your listeners right now, their parents know their kids best. Isn't that amazing now in our country, actually letting parents make the decision for their children? Parents know best. But I would say a mature 11-year-old, 12-year-old, this would be fine. Nothing graphic, no gratuitous language. The subject matter's tough, but it's done in a way where you don't actually see the abuse. You know what's happening. But why the movie? We are students of American history in Operation Underground Railroad. We look at our heroes in the fighting the transatlantic slave trade. Harriet Beecher Stowe writes Uncle Tom's Cabin, uses entertainment, a book, to raise awareness about a social scourge going on then. We are now doing movies and documentaries like Sound of Freedom to hopefully use entertainment. I know that sounds kind of crazy, right? Entertainment about the sex trade, but entertainment to raise awareness. So hopefully we can create an army that says, no more, we're putting an end to this.
Would you characterize the movie more as a drama or an action movie or somewhere in between?
It's absolutely in between. Definitely there's action there. It's very compelling, a little bit of drama as well. But what it is, again, based on a true story, you will see Tim Ballard's decision. You'll see some of his early cases with Homeland Security, talk about the demand, how this happens, and then we will track one of our actual cases that takes us to Colombia through Latin America. And then in the end, you'll see kind of it all come together with a call to action that everyone can do something to fight child exploitation and human trafficking.
Speaking of the entertainment side, Matt, from the trailers that I've seen and a couple of the movie clips, I'm going to make an odd tie-in here. To me, the cinematography reminds me a lot of Christopher Nolan's work, and especially Batman Dark Knight. And you have a character in the movie, I believe, who's named Batman. Is that true? And is there an intentional reason for the naming of the character?
That is fascinating. So now I see what you mean in the connection with the Dark Knight. So Batman is the code name of one of our real-life undercover operators. He dedicated his life. He worked for the Mexican cartels. Then he literally had a come-to-Jesus moment, as he talked about, where he believes God was sort of telling him, no, you're not exploiting kids and people anymore. You're saving them. Well, you guys might think this is funny. We wanted to use the name Batman in the movie. DC Comics did not give us the right to use Batman, so we changed his name. It is called Vampiro, or Vampire.
Mm-hmm.
But and your viewers will see next week, everything Vampiro says and what he does is based on a real-life person codenamed Batman.
Wow.
So this movie, I mean, the key parts of this are set in Colombia, like you just said, but thank God that doesn't happen around here, right? I mean, Matt, this is something that happens in third world countries. It would never happen in the United States, especially in our suburbs, right?
Well, we wish, correct?
Yeah.
And I can't remember, and I have in-laws who live in St. Louis, and I know there was a case in St. Charles not too long ago where I live in Dallas in the nicer areas. So real quick, in the United States, the trafficking victims mostly come from, they're Americans. You know, people think, oh, they're coming across the border. Yes, that happens. But the vast majority are runaways, kids from broken homes who are missing, you know, the love, the affection. These traffickers prey on them, and they wind up in strip clubs and Asian massage parlors, exploited online. The United States has a huge problem with trafficking, but I am more optimistic than pessimistic that we are starting to make a difference because of your radio show and others giving this type of platform for this issue.
Mike kind of mentioned this earlier in the show about how it doesn't look the way I think often we've portrayed it, you know, the how children get abducted and put into these sort of situations. It isn't, you know, the guy who just kind of snatches your kid out off of a playground in the suburbs. It's more like what you were talking about with the kids who were exploitable, and then somebody kind of coming along and enticing them into this. Could you give us an example of how that works a little bit?
Correct. So you said it. If all we're looking for is a white paneled van and a creep in a trench coat, we've missed it, right? Because that's not really how it's happening. The movie Taken was great for a lot of reasons, but then I think people think, oh, as long as I don't let my daughter go to Europe, she'll be fine. What happens in the United States? Social media, online, images being posted out there. And I have 2 college-age daughters. I educate them. Please, parents who are listening, make sure you know what your kids are doing on social media, because these groomers are online. They're creating fake profiles with a picture of like Zac Efron, right? So these kids think they're talking to an 18-year-old boy when it's really a 65-year-old man. If they can just get some incriminating pictures, if they can just get a youth to give them something, well, they have blackmail material. Likewise, they're going to Walmarts, movie theaters, bus stations. Who's there at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon who should be in school? This young girl needs help. Hey, do you need some money? Do you need help? Do you need love? You're so beautiful. You could be a model. Whatever these vulnerabilities are that most kids have, these traffickers are looking for that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how these kids are getting lured into these networks.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, so last question we got, visiting with Matt Osborne from Operation Underground Rescue, and we'll give out the website. When it comes to the film itself, what's the takeaway that you want people to have? And when people are saying, I want to have a picnic, a barbecue on the 4th of July, why should they also incorporate in something that admittedly is going to be a little tough to watch at times?
Absolutely. And again, as I said, it's kind of weird to say, hey, this is an entertaining movie. It is entertaining. And Mike, I think at the very outset of this segment, you said about Jim Caviezel, what an incredible actor. I got to be on the set in Colombia a few years ago. He is an incredible actor. He's thrown himself into this role. It is amazing to see. And again, it is tough to watch, but you will see at the end that law enforcement, working with a private organization, working with good aftercare, there are solutions. So it's okay to have your barbecues. Everyone have a good time. Please go see this movie. Then talk to your kids about keeping them safe. Talk to community leaders, mayors, police chiefs, sheriffs. Make sure we're all fighting human trafficking. We can do it in St. Louis, throughout Missouri, throughout Middle America, and this is how we hope that we're going to start a movement to finally end this.
Okay, so what's the website? Where do we learn more? And I know that there's a Pay It Forward ticket program that you've got as well.
Absolutely. OURrescue.org. Please, everyone, go to OurRescue.org. There's a link to the trailer, how to buy tickets. Pay It Forward. Angel Studios has done an amazing thing saying, look, if you can afford a movie ticket, great. Could you afford 5 movie tickets, 10 movie tickets? Pay it forward so that others who maybe are going through tough times and can't afford a ticket can still go to this movie, still get educated, and still make a positive difference.
All right, Matt Osborne from Operation Underground Railroad, OurRescue.org. Hey, Matt, thanks so much for being on the show, and appreciate the effort and appreciate the film, especially ones that are well done like this.
Thanks, Mike and team. Really appreciate you guys, and happy Independence Day.
Absolutely. Same to you as well. All right, 314-912-1019. Stell, we need to look up which theaters are showing this around here.
I've seen numerous, to be honest with you. I believe most of the major theaters, even the one in Washington where we live, Cinema One Plus, there is also handling it.
Okay, so we've got a news roundup coming up, but in the next information break here, let's do a search, guys, and let's find just a few of these so that people know where they can see this movie. But it sounds like it's an actual action drama movie. And so far, all the reviews I've seen say this thing's really well written and really well directed as well. So you're still, if you would go see an action movie on the 4th of July, here it is.
Taken,
it's
but
got
better.
a much bigger, much bigger purpose. We'll get you some updates on that just ahead right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
For $1 a day, if any covered appliance breaks in your home, we guarantee to fix or replace it. All makes and models, washers, dryers, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. Guaranteed to be fixed or replaced for $1 a day. Call the Home Service Club now for free information.
800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. 800-399-3701. That's 800-399-3701.
Columbo and Katie.
Paul Kerman. To have a change in leadership midstream especially is next to impossible. And if he were to be voted out next time they vote for a House Speaker, I just think that would be highly unlikely too, just because he's already there. And every other Republican in Congress right now, they think as long as they're hitching their wagon to McCarthy, well, then that's going to help keep them in positions of power.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
iHelp is the immigrant home English learning program here in St. Louis that helps empower immigrant families by providing individualized, in-home English language education and tools for the effective navigation of our community. iHelp connects volunteer teachers with adult immigrant and refugee learners in our community to develop English and life skills. To learn more or to volunteer as a tutor, visit ihelpstl.org. That's ihelpstl.org.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, a few things in the headlines right now. Donald Trump and his team respond to the leaked audio of him discussing the alleged classified documents situation. Also, here's a shock. Illinois friends, your taxes are about to go up this week.
No.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
Again.
Also, yeah, again, and regularly as well. That's actually built into the plan. Okay, we were looking for movie theaters that are showing Sound of Freedom this weekend. Holy crap, they're everywhere.
Yeah, apparently. Now, actually, as I'm looking at these locations here, you've got pretty much every AMC in St. Charles and also across the river in Illinois. There are a couple of Regal cinemas here. There's Marcus Arnold Cinema over there in Arnold. And then the
B&B theaters.
The B&B theaters, yep. Yep.
Okay, so
Moolah Theater and Lounge has got one. Or wait, no, that one doesn't have any showtimes. But so it's all over.
Yeah, because sometimes when you've got a movie that's put out with a purpose, there are selected movies, but it sounds like they realize that there's a demand for this. So check that out if you want to go ahead and sounds like you need to go ahead and get your tickets early.
Yeah, you might
That'd
as well
be a smart move.
Just go ahead. Now, I'm seeing all this on Angel Studios website, angel.com. If you look, just put Sound of Freedom in your search, and the Angel Studios link will come right up.
Angel Studios, by the way, that's the studio that produced The Chosen.
Yes, that's right.
Which Rachel and I are in season 3 of right
now.
Yeah.
And that's where I had the
awesome.
confusion earlier.
Yeah, you were
with
thinking
Jim Caviezel.
Yeah,
because in my mind I was actually thinking Jesus Revolution, that movie.
Yes.
Oh, right.
That is the same. That is the same.
The lead character.
Oh, did Angel
there,
Studios do that too?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I was like, wait a minute.
But the guy who played Jesus in The Chosen
was in Jesus Revolution.
Yeah, he played the.
Okay.
He
played
the
Lonnie
hippie.
Frisbee.
Yeah, Lonnie Frisbee.
God. See, I didn't see Jesus Revolution. My wife did. She
that was
saw
fun.
Yeah, she went with some of her friends to see that, but I haven't seen Jesus Revolution.
Yeah, you know what, guys? Christian cinema has come such a long way.
Okay.
Did I just touch
let me tell you something. I've been in Christian radio before, and I remember years and years. I mean, we're talking back to the 90s when like the first Left Behind movies with Kirk Cameron came out. Now Kirk Cameron went on to be in some really good movies that were Christian done with the group in Atlanta, the Kendrick brothers.
Yeah.
Done in Atlanta, but those first ones that were based on the LaHaye books.
Yeah.
Holy God, awful. Ridiculously bad.
Yeah, I mean, and even some of the newer ones that can have like their moments and they're well done. At least they can still be a little cheesy.
Yeah.
And a little preachy. It's like, but movies like this one, a series like The Chosen, I think they've stepped it up to a whole new level in terms of their writing, their drama, their capability. So it's a long way. Such a long way.
I was working at a little like 1,500 watt AM station, like in the early 90s, and it was a little Christian station, and that's when like some of these Left Behind movies were coming out, and they would send you DVDs or VHS tapes to the personalities and say, hey, could you review these, and then we'll have you have one of the actors on or something like that. And they sent me one of the Left Behind, and then there was another movie, I don't remember what it was, and I took it home and I watched it. And I went back in, of course, and all the Christian.
Oh, they're excited.
All the perky Christian people are like, "Oh, that was great. We have a Christian movie. Let's talk about it." I went, "Listen, this really sucks."
It's like this wasn't
I'm like, the writing is terrible, the directing is terrible, the lighting is terrible.
It's dorky.
It's awful.
The sound is terrible.
There's nothing good about this movie, but it's for Jesus. I'm like, I don't care. It's awful.
It's bad. Don't do this.
And so we just sent the DVD back. We're like, hey, we're gonna do you a favor and not talk about this film. But then you get like Fireproof and Facing the Giants and a lot of those have really, really done well.
They've stepped up a lot.
I remember growing up, and Stella, I don't know if you're going to remember these or not. Bob Jones University used to put out movies so that Baptist churches, could have movie nights without going to the sinful dens of inequity, which are movie theaters.
Right.
Because I wasn't allowed to go to movie theaters as a kid. Don't ask me why. There's nothing wrong with them. It's fine.
It's fine.
But they would have like films like, if you want to see something really hilarious, look up like Super Christian from the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
And so Bob Jones University had a cinema program back in like the 70s and 80s and stuff. And they would produce Christian movies that were really cheesy.
They were really,
Now, my mind goes back to Thief in the Night, which came out in the 70s, I believe, which was the David Wilkerson story, and rescuing drug addicts, etc. But I missed a lot of that because I didn't grow up in that culture as a kid. So when I accepted Christ in 73, I was gung-ho then, and you're right, the movies that came out back then were embarrassing.
I don't know if you could call fundamental legalistic Baptist culture, but it was the closest thing we had to movies out there.
Oh man, were you a fan of Bible Man?
I know. You know what's funny is that
and Veggie Tales.
Now Veggie Tales is all right.
You can't go wrong with Veggie Tales.
Yeah.
The bad guy, the villain in Bible Man. I forgot the actor's name.
Oh, I have no idea.
But I actually knew that guy.
Really?
Yeah. When I lived in another city, his kids and my kids were about the same age, and they went to some of the same youth group stuff. And so I actually met that guy, and he was just an out of work actor at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
it is what it is.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
but that was kind of the level of what he used to be.
You know, after the Passion of the Christ, if Hollywood were interested at all in appealing to us, they would have given us all kinds of biblical blockbusters, but they didn't. They opted for poking us in the eye every chance they got.
But there's a demand for it.
Absolutely.
Yes, and this isn't per se. Sound of Freedom is not per se a Christian film. That's not what we're saying.
That's not what we're saying.
But we remember what Facing the Giants did very well.
That really opened the door, I think.
It was one of the big.
It was Fireproof. They did Fireproof.
Yes,
and they made it. I cannot remember the name of the production company that. It's a big Baptist church in Georgia.
The Kendrick Brothers.
The Kendrick Brothers, but they do it through their church.
Yeah,
and they made enough of a profit they reinvested in for Facing the Giants. And then what was the one with he played the deputy sheriff. It was a law enforcement setting. What was that one called? Because that was really well done.
Oh, I can't remember.
It was right after Facing the Giants. And then that one came out. I've seen the movie. It's really good. And then every time they had a successful movie, they reinvested it into cinema.
Yeah.
And they're telling stories. It's like, for instance, with conservative films and documentaries that are coming out, you have to engage culture this way.
Yes.
You have to. You can't just
Courageous.
Courageous. That was it. That was such a good movie. Because what was it? Is it Adam that does the act? Adam Kendrick, is he the one that does the acting?
I think so.
I think you're right.
It's Adam.
Yeah.
And he starred in that, and he wrote it, and it was really, really well done. But that's from a religious perspective, but also we have conservative films out there as well, because some of those were bad in the early days. But now you look at the quality of those. I mean, has there been a film that's affected the culture wars more than Matt Walsh's What Is a Woman right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
I mean, and it's
taken over everything.
Yeah. I mean, just
ask the question and you think of the movie. And
right. But if it were a poorly produced film, would it have had the same effect?
No, not at all.
If they had tried to do it on the cheap and they just did man on the street interviews with an iPhone,
right,
would they have had the success, and would they have changed the conversation without putting in the quality work? They would not.
No, yeah, and you have to have the quality in order to be able to make the impact, in order to have the conversation, and that I think that's now part of the impetus. Why things are changing now is because they're focusing more on the quality stuff. Even if you have to work with I think one of the things that hampered early Christian productions was they wanted to make sure every single person who worked on the production was a Christian. Essentially,
like a doctrinal statement.
Exactly, you'd have to sign on to a doctrine. So the thing is, you're not going to get the best key grip in the industry if you make them sign a doctrinal statement. You're not going to get the best cinematographer. You're not if you keep all your editing in house. You're basically going to get one film student who went to your church, and they're going to do it, and it's not going to be as good. So I think basically making an environment where you can do Christian things even though you're using non-Christian labor, I think, is one of the things that's changed the game.
So never mind on the news roundup, by the way. Basically, the roundup,
yeah, sorry. We took this conversation a whole different direction.
Let me just, because we got to get in for a segment. The world's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, that's it.
There's your news roundup right there.
Another recent one that really touched a lot of people was I Can Only Imagine, the one that was based on the Mercy Me song.
That's right.
And that's a local connection.
Yeah, it was a local connection?
Was it? No, not I Can Only Imagine. It was Heaven Is For Real. That was that one.
Oh, okay.
Heaven Is For Real. Which one was that?
That was the kid who was trapped in the ice, I think over in St. Charles or something like that. He died. He fell into the ice. He died, and he came back with the testimony about what heaven looked like.
Did I read that kid kind of like
he recanted a little bit?
He recanted that though.
Yeah,
no, the I Can Only Imagine because
that was the singer's life story.
That's
it revolves around the Mercy Me song.
Yes, and because
Bart Millard.
Bart Millard, yeah, because I've actually interviewed Bart back in my old Christian radio days, and so he's a great storyteller.
Oh yeah,
fantastic storyteller. That was really well done.
Dennis Quaid was in that one. I mean,
yeah,
crying out loud. Trace Adkins.
Yes. And then, of course, Amy Grant had a lot to do with that film as well.
And I think that song originally was offered to Amy.
That's correct.
She declined it.
Right. Thank goodness.
Yeah, she said, I think somebody like Mercy Me should be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys are fun, by the way. I haven't talked to them. I don't work in that industry anymore, and I never will again. But those guys were a lot of fun. You know, Bart Miller, you never knew what was coming out of that guy's mouth when you talked to him. It was hysterical. All right, just ahead here, our corporation's getting the message about the woke in your face, we're going to change the culture war sort of thing. Maybe, at least maybe for now. I'll explain why I say that. And this affects also the St. Louis Blues and the St. Louis Cardinals. Okay, so I'll make the connection right around 8:35 on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Matt Chambers with your first alert forecast. Canadian wildfire smoke in our area this morning, some of the thickest we've seen. Air quality unhealthy, and there is an impact on visibility. In addition to that, a few scattered showers, even a rumble of thunder possible this morning. Otherwise, more humid, an afternoon high of 91. Down to only 78 tonight, and heat advisories kick in tomorrow and Friday. Dangerous highs near 101 both days. Heat index 105 to 110 as the low storm chance continues. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby. Only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh, no. It's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
So we finally got the parts for the time machine. Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s. Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks. Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at classickicks.com. Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa. 90s new country streaming now. Listen anytime.
It happens
anywhere. Everywhere.
Every day continues to bring more news
with the News Talk STL app. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Hey everybody, it's Paul Kurtman. Make sure you join me every Saturday from 12 to 1 here on News Talk STL for the Paul Kurtman Show. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Interesting little bit of news that I think slipped through much of the mainstream media. Conservative media found it, and that has to do with the people responsible for that debacle of Bud Light advertising that involved the dude in the dress, Dylan Mulvaney. But also, when you look at the bigger picture of the woke advertising, even the entities like National Hockey League and Major League Baseball, they may be backing down a little bit. This is fascinating. It is coming up on 8:37 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe Pfeiffer here. Got Stel Ponticus here. Okay, so the two marketing people at Bud Light, who let me find my story again here. There it is. Daniel Blake, who was the group vice president for marketing for Anheuser-Busch, and then Alyssa Heinerscheid. She was the one who was responsible for the Dylan Mulvaney debacle, and she's the one who also was on that interview where she's saying, we got to change this brand. It's got to be inclusive. It's got to be less fratty. It's all
yeah.
out of touch humor, which means
fratty and out of touch.
right.
Yeah.
And so she doubled down on the woke thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Is what she did.
Mm-hmm.
They were put on leave.
Mm-hmm.
They were taking a leave of absence. Well, the Daily Caller and then Red State are reporting that they have actually been fired at this point. But Bud Light and Anheuser, but they don't want to publicize that because then they're essentially admitting defeat is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now, did Bud Light really get the message? Yes and no. They know that they've created a problem for themselves because they're trying to come up with more, old school, manly beer drinking, advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to sort of placate that part of the market that basically said, screw you. Especially not even just because you had that idiot dude in a dress, but then that they doubled down on it.
Right.
And so, they've lost billions of dollars. They're no longer the best-selling beer in America after decades.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get that they have a problem.
Yeah.
But
that's the first step.
It's at least a step.
It's a step.
Where there are two steps.
Yeah.
Because over the weekend, I guess, is when the major pride festivals and parades, and Bud Light sponsored almost every major one.
Yeah, they were everywhere. The Bud Light brand was plastered all over the debauchery that we saw, and it was kind of wild.
And you say debauchery, it's not like, listen, if the gay community in the Grove has a parade and they just march up and down with their flags and have their nobody's complaining about that.
That's cool.
I don't care.
Sure, have at it.
Do your thing.
Do your thing.
But when you mentioned the debauchery, what we saw in city after city after city after city was pretty extreme.
Yes.
As in people stripping down naked, people simulating sex acts, people doing all of this sort of just insane, in your face, debaucherous stuff. And what you saw over and over and over was children in the presence of this happening.
Yeah.
I saw a photo of a parent leading their kids. Looked like one was probably upper grade school, so 5th, 6th grade, something like that. Maybe junior high, but really probably grade school.
Yeah.
Another one with a woman holding her toddler, and they're pointing and laughing at just stuff I'm not even going to describe on the radio. And the one family walking their kids through a pride parade festival, just walking right through a bunch of naked men with, rainbow hats and stuff like that.
Glitter everywhere.
I mean, but just full on, they just,
it is what it is, right?
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And Gabe is the host of Not Today, Satan.
Yeah, exactly.
I sent you the photo, and I think I sent it to you also, Mike.
Yeah.
The guy's wearing the shirt that says "Not Today, Jesus."
Yes.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, and another somebody holding a banner, actually one of those giant street spanning banners, and it said "Satan loves you."
Yeah, which is inaccurate.
It is not.
But there was another in Seattle where there was a big fountain. I think we mentioned this earlier this week at one of the festivals, and a bunch of men just stripped down naked and were playing in the fountain. There were children everywhere. I mean, but that is part of the culture war, and Bud Light decided to double down and do that sponsorship because they're afraid of losing that part of their market base. But
which
that
is weird.
So much smaller than the country music listening, football watching, bar going base of their customer that they've managed to run off.
Yeah.
But get this, both the NHL and Major League Baseball, and I think you may have mentioned this in passing earlier this week, Stel, is that both of those major sports leagues have told their teams, let's go ahead and put the kibosh on theme night jerseys.
Yeah, they quietly kind of stepped away from the various rainbow themed events that they were planning on doing.
And one of the things that the way that they have couched it is they've said, just we're not doing theme night jerseys at all. But that includes Pride Night, because nobody's complaining about the Star Wars night jerseys.
Nope.
I guess unless you're a Star Trek fan. But but nobody, so
Suck it, Trekkies.
That's right.
Sorry.
But for instance, there were some, like the Texas Rangers decided they didn't want to do it.
They've never done.
Yeah.
in the entire life of their franchise.
Really?
They've never done Pride stuff.
The only
wow.
one. The only one.
Wow.
And so Rob Manfred, the commissioner, he says this is a distraction, and we've got players who are speaking up, and we don't want to. Basically, there's no upside for us at this point. So it's not that they're not going to have a theme night. So they're still going to have a Pride night.
Okay.
But they're just not going to make
They're
the
not doing the
players and the
jerseys.
umpires wear the rainbow stuff.
Right.
And that sort of thing. So they're just saying, and for instance, in the NHL for like whatever their Pride celebration was, they wanted all the players to do warm-ups in these rainbow sort of jerseys. And imagine this, a lot of the hockey players were like, no, we're not doing that.
Actually, it started with one. It really
Yeah.
did start with one. He was the first one, the public, and I can't remember his name for the life of me.
I want to say he was a Philadelphia Flyer.
Yeah, and he came out publicly and said, "It's like, no, I'm not going to deal with my Christian stance is against that, and I can't represent that." And he's like, anybody can do what they want, but I'm not going to co-sign
Right.
it. Essentially,
Which is the right way to do it.
Which is the right way to do it. And I think that started the ball rolling because you got other players kind of saying, like, yeah, do we have to do this too? And all of a sudden, the entire NHL now is saying, you know what? Nobody has to
Just
do
let it go.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
So,
And it's not that you can't buy a Pride jersey in
Sure.
the store if you want to do that.
Have
They'll
at
still
it.
sell them, but they're not gonna make the players do it. So that tells me that the market signals are getting loud and clear enough.
Yeah.
That some of these businesses have to take notice, but they're trying to tread lightly because even though the market is speaking, the narrative is pushing back. And I think this tells us that we are winning the culture war at the moment.
right. Or at least the momentum's on our side.
At the moment.
Yeah.
Now, that's going to swing back the other way at some point, someday.
Now-
But right now, we're winning.
It's interesting to me, though, that all it took was somebody to say, you know what? How about no?
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it's really simple. It's not as though we had to go out and have advocacy groups and have gigantic marches and do all these things. It's just like, you know what? No. And that's all it took. Just a good enough amount of us to say enough is enough, and we left the playing field. It's like, you guys can play by yourselves.
Right.
And now they're being forced to change the game. I think that's a testament to the power that we actually have, and it says something about just simply taking action. It's small actions that lead to big changes.
Well, and you look at, for instance, Target, and you look at Bud Light.
Yep.
There weren't massive coordinated boycotts.
Right.
There were just people who said, I can buy somewhere else. I don't want to contribute to this.
Nobody had to form a 501c3. Nobody had to go on an advertising campaign after raising funds to buy a commercial at the Super Bowl or anything. You know what I mean? It was just you know what? How about we step away from this, guys? And it was like, you know what? I think I will step away from
I
that.
can buy a different kind of beer.
Yeah.
I mentioned before. Target, I think, is interesting because I keep going back to our conversation with Susie Moore a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Target is they specialize in stuff that's hard to find in other stores.
Yes.
I mean, you can find anything on Amazon.
Sure.
But it's hard to replace that, and the marketplace has still simply told Target, we're done with you, at least for now. I thought it would go away after a week or two, and it hasn't.
Now, I'm curious about the Target thing because I haven't seen any sales numbers.
Not
you know,
recently.
You know, the way they – now, I think we're still a little bit away from a quarterly report that would show the real sales numbers. But we do know, though, that the market itself, the stock market, their confidence in Target dropped dramatically. And even if there aren't really sales repercussions necessarily that are, you know, more than a drop in a bucket, it would speak to the Bud Light effect, I guess.
Right.
In that, you know, we scared them. We let them know our power, and I think we need to keep that up.
And all it took was people deciding individual purchasing decisions based on principles.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing is so many times you get some media personality or you get some political personality who wants to grandstand and say, where is everybody headed so that I may run out in front of them and lead them?
Yeah, basically.
It's that old cliche. But you didn't need to do that with Bud Light. You didn't need to do that. With Bud Light especially, once the video made the rounds of that idiot, and then once the video made the rounds of the response and doubling down, people just simply said, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
And then Bud Light then says, we're going to win you back, but they never said we were wrong. They never said we're sorry. They never clarified what their positions and their ethics and their morals are. And then they made it very clear that they were scared of the Rainbow Mafia and the Alphabet Soup Mafia. And then that's further divided them from their actual market base, their actual customer base.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about this is that, our tendency as conservatives is to have that live and let live mantra. It's like, okay, you don't want to do your thing.
Yeah,
it's like,
I don't
and
care.
we would shrug our shoulders, we put our head down, and we'd keep working. That's pretty much how we've responded in a lot of ways to a lot of the culture war ground that has been taken from us by the left. We're just like, you know what, it's fine, let them have their thing. But
They can have their thing, I don't care.
In this case, though, I mean, because our live and let live only works if they let us live.
Yeah.
And they've shown that they will not let us live with this. They're gonna come to our faces and try to shove this stuff down our throats. And all we have to do is, instead of shrugging our shoulders and say, okay, fine, have your thing, we shrug our shoulders and say, okay, I'm out.
Yeah. And that's what's happened. That happened with me with Starbucks years ago, especially after they set up funds to subsidize abortions and gender altering and destroying, procedures to subsidize the travel for their employees for that. And they said, well, I said, you're free to do that, because everybody involved is an adult, but I don't want any of the profit that I'm giving you to pay for that. So call it a boycott if you want, or just call it, I can buy something somewhere else where I'm not going to be funding that.
Yep. I'm out.
Yep. 314 and 912 1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hello and welcome. From all of us at the Indoor Comfort Team, we want to help earn your trust and make your life, more comfortable. The Indoor Comfort Team has helped thousands of people deal with the common concerns of heating, cooling, hot water heaters. We've been doing this since 1979, and we're still only a call away. Whenever you need us, the Indoor Comfort Team. Comfort you can trust.
Call 314-894-8200 or visit indoorcomfortteam.com.
Hey guys, Columbo here, reminding you that if you belong to an organization like a school or a church, or your kids are part of a group or a sports team that needs to raise money, there's no better way to do so than with a TJ's Pizza fundraiser. TJ's Pizza has been helping local organizations raise money for over 30 years to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. A local company helping local people, and there's lots of different ways TJ's can help you raise big money fast. Get started now at tjspizza.com.
This is Julia Gordon-Bramer, your host of Mystic Fix. I'm a professional tarot card reader, author, and scholar of mysticism. Mystic Fix offers playful, practical advice and spiritual tools for modern living. It's a program for the whole being and journeying the lesser-traveled paths. Each show features guests and authors in lively conversation, ranging from crystals to Kabbalah, yoga to Yetis, and of course, tarot card reading.
Mystic Fix, Saturday nights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Hey, St. Louis, it's Dan Bongino, proud to be part of the News Talk STL lineup.
Every weekday from 11 to 2, we'll get together to talk about what's going on.
News, analysis, opinion, and always some fun. Make an appointment to be with us every weekday beginning at 11 on News Talk STL.
Welcome home.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, 4th of July coming up this coming week. It's a weird one. It's kind of in the middle of the week with Tuesday. And a lot of people are accustomed to getting a long weekend for the 4th of July, but not this year.
I think it puts businesses in a tough spot.
Yeah.
Do you take the 3rd off? Do you not take the 3rd off? Do you make it the long weekend, or do you make folks come in on the 3rd and then you get the 4th off and then you're back to work again?
And then everybody's hung over on Wednesday.
Exactly.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of PTO taken on the 3rd because even if you go to work on the 3rd, I mean, I'm talking like your typical corporate, like, sort of setting. I mean, really, you're at work, but are you really working on that day?
Your body may be there, but your mind.
No, you're
isn't
checked
there.
out. Man.
Yeah.
You're checked out. You're
Yep.
checked out on that.
Was it quiet quitting?
Quiet vacationing where you don't use your PTO.
Exactly. That's what that is.
Oh, man. Hey, by the way, quick update to, we talked about the water main break in St. Charles.
Yeah.
Right there on a historic Main Street. They are trying to preserve all those bricks that were part of the roadway that buckled.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
they're brushing them, getting all the old sand off, and when they're repairing the roadway after that because that was a big water main break, they're actually trying to put back all of those old bricks because some of these. My understanding is there's a lot of those bricks that are original bricks.
Yeah.
They go back long time.
Cobblestone?
Yeah.
Is it
I
cobblestone
don't know that
style?
they're a cobblestone. They're brick.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think that I don't think they're cobblestone.
Okay.
But we're talking. I mean, by American standards, ancient. What we think of as really old, Europe is like, well, that's brand new. I mean,
Yes.
But when they're trying to restore those, which I was really glad to see. So a couple of benefits. One, that's the character of historic Main Street in St. Charles. Two, I mean, when you drive up and down Old Main Street on that brick road, you drive real slow because it's so bumpy.
Yes.
That's the way Laclede's Landing used to be.
Yeah. And it still is in some areas.
In some areas.
Oh my goodness! So like by the bridge where the train goes, and not too far, like a few blocks from the post house. Oh my goodness! I mean, it's like you're better off just getting out and pushing your car because it is so stinking
bumpy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so when they're putting these bricks back in, my hope is that they'll actually smooth it out
Hey,
a little
yeah,
bit.
that's true.
because you have probably 100 years or more of the bricks settling and the ground shifting, especially that close to the river out there. And then when the water main broke, it just I'm sure they lost some bricks.
Oh, yeah,
and
they
they'll
have
have to
to.
repair and they'll have to replace some bricks. But they can keep most of those bricks, it looks like, or at least a majority of them, and keep that sort of historic integrity.
That's cool.
In place there, which is really, really cool because that's one of the cool things that makes old historic Main Street in St. Charles.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I mean, I come from the East Coast, so stuff is older that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, out here, the old stuff is like, early 1800s kind of thing. Out there, the old stuff is like 1600s. It's like old colonial type stuff. So I love all of that stuff. Maintaining the integrity of those things, maintaining the history of those things is kind of close to the heart here. Actually, we had a whole course at school back there where we discussed colonial period stuff, and we would visit historical sites around town in my little town out there in Austin, New York. And yeah, it's kind of amazing to me. I love that stuff.
We've through inheritances, we have a couple of chairs in our house. That one that fits in the corner there. It's like that not triangular, but it's like the square shape to fit the corner.
It's designed for
It's
the
designed
corner.
for that. That's from like late 1760s.
Oh.
So literally, we have a couple chairs in our house that are older than the country.
That's so awesome.
And
I knew there was a reason why I didn't feel like I could sit in that chair.
Yeah, the only one who sits on that chair is Rosie the cat.
Yes, because she's light enough so that she's not going to hurt anything.
So she jumps up there, and somebody asked about this chair in our house, and we'd figured out it was like from the 1760s that had been handed down because my wife's mom was what do they call it, the Mayflower Society.
Oh wow!
So
Well, she
Rachel had some ancestors
direct
on the
lineage.
Mayflower.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so hers like the classy lineage. Mine were like the Scotch Irish and the Appalachian Mountains, where we grabbed our wife by simply sneaking in and grabbing by the hair and dragging them off like Neanderthals.
Okay, all right. So you were the potato guys.
Yes. Oh yeah. So somebody was like, that chair is really unique and it's interesting. We're like, yeah, here's what we put together about it. And they're like, it's literally older than the United States.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. I said, yeah. They're like, it's older than the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And your cat and your laundry are on it right now. Well, yeah.
It is what it is.
Kind of. Yeah. I don't know what else to do with
like,
it.
that's how we roll.
Yeah.
That's the response. That's how we roll in the
and
Ferguson
Rosie
household.
just kind of looked up and like,
You talk about my chair?
She's like, it's comfortable. I don't care.
Yeah, we have a dear friend, Paul Clark, and his wife Heidi, who recently bought a home in Herman, and it's a stone home built in the early 1800s.
Oh, those are so cool.
And Paul's the type of guy who can go into a situation like that, and he has that vision of seeing something old like that, and he can automatically put stuff together in his head and go, okay, here's what I can do here. I can update this and that, but it still maintains the integrity of the home that's classic stone.
Is the home on the list of historic places?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to ask him.
Our house actually becomes eligible for that in 3 years.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, because it hits the 100-year mark. Because our house was built in 1926.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, man. I love that stuff. You know, they don't build things like they used to at all.
No. Goodness,
you know
no.
what I mean?
No. Planned obsolescence.
Yeah. There are roads in Europe that have lasted for thousands of years. That's crazy to me.
Absolutely.
They've torn up my street last summer. You gotta fix it.
All right, Vic Porcelli coming your way at 9:04.
Thanks for listening on this Wednesday morning. Welcome home to News Talk STL.
The latest news.
Speaker of the House is raising new questions about allegations that the Attorney General of the United States has weaponized the Justice Department.
The news you need to know.
Ford is making more cuts as it deals with high expenses for making electric vehicles.
Seems pretty obvious that his age is creeping up on him.
The president's got to do better, and he's got to show himself to be presidential.
I've not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever.
And the place to talk about it. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold